All right. Well, good morning, everybody, and good morning to everybody out there online. So thank you guys for joining us again today. Not that you had any choice this morning, but thanks for getting going. Today is all about listings. So today is our ultimate listing class. This is part of our relaunch series. So for the folks here in class, we're all going to be going through the same thing. For my folks online, if you have any kind of questions that you want us to address, please put it in the Q&A. Don't put it in the chat because chat moves too fast. We can't keep up with it. This is a 3-hour CE class. You will have to be on for the full 3 hours in order to obtain CE credit. We track that, like your microphones and cameras are turned off. All you have to do is log in or go into the chat, put in your name and license number at the beginning, the middle, and the end, and that's how we keep up with everybody there. So let's see, where's the clicker? So my name is Alan Richardson. I'm the managing broker here at Maximum Realty and Realtor Partners. And this is all about doing listings. And this is my wheelhouse. This is where I'm very, very comfortable. This is what I like to do for years and years. That was our thing, is we were listing agents. And so I feel very, very comfortable in this space. To sell or list 100 homes a year, that was something we did for multiple years, kind of thing, during going through it. And so you can build up machines that work just like that. And I'm going to go through kind of what we do. But we're going to start off by talking about what do our sellers look like today. Because today's sellers, they're evolving. But we start off with our sellers have a lot of money. Our sellers have a lot of equity. Right now, 38% of our sellers own their home free and clear. And so that's a very powerful place for them to be. When almost 40% of your sellers own a house, do they care what interest rates are? No. No, because they're probably just for them, it would be selling and buying kind of thing. And so, in addition to that, we've got about 32% that have less than 50% equity, and we got another 30% that have greater than 50% equity in their home. And me personally, I don't know you guys, do you guys know anyone that's upside down in their home? No, I don't either, right? That's why we're not seeing any foreclosures, because why would you let your house get foreclosed on? There's money wrapped up in it, right? And so for the folks who are saying, hey, where's the foreclosures? Where's the foreclosures? People will just sell. They may not like it, but they'll sell before they lose that equity. So now how old are our sellers? Now, sellers are aging overall. The average median age of a seller is 60 years old. That being said, you can see about 27% are 65 to 75, another 23% are 55 to, so between 55 and 75 are almost half of our sellers, is really one of the easiest ways to kind of look at it. So the vast majority of our sellers we have a lot of boomer sellers, that kind of stuff. It doesn't mean that we don't have millennial sellers. We do, just not as many. But there's also not a lot of people that actually focus on engaging with millennial sellers that much. 30% of our sellers are first-time sellers. Now, 70% are repeat, but 30% are first-time sellers. And so if you bought a home, is selling a home the same thing? I mean, it's the same coin, but it's a different side of that coin. And then so what do we have to do for our first-time sellers? Educate. Now, the other thing is the average seller has been in their home for 10 years, which I'll show you in another slide. So has the market changed any in 10 years?
Yes.
So even if you sold previously, what else? I mean, for your repeat sellers, what do you have to do as well? Educate, right? It's not that's the only constant we have is change.
Yes, sir.
All right. How many of our sellers have kids in the home under 18? Wow. Not many. No. 75% of our sellers have no kids. That's like a big deal. And it's you'll notice if you get invited to graduation parties in the spring, what's happening in the fall? They're listing their house, kind of thing. We just see it happen again and again and again. And so our sellers, 3 out of 4 sellers have no kids at home. It's kind of a tell for a lot of our sellers. Oh, look, what's the median? How long have our sellers been in the home? I already told you, 10 years. You can see that it's been getting longer and longer over time, but it's right around 10 years right now. Now, who is our sellers as far as like the adult compositions? Still, you know, married couples are going to be the biggest percentage. But what do you notice about married couples?
It's going down.
It's going down, right? Yeah. You know, single females, single women has had the biggest jump. 20% of your sellers right now are single women. And I just think, and not that I'm trying to say, you know, target single women, because when you say that, it sounds really creepy. What I'm saying is like, you know, to be able to engage with female sellers and to be able to speak their language and show care and concern, that could be a very good opportunity if that's where your heart matches up right there. Proximity of home sold to home purchased. So this is you know, for those of us that like to do a sale as well as work the buy, we're seeing where our sellers are moving much farther. Only 17% of your sellers are staying in the same region after they sell. 20% are going out to another region, and that makes it, you know, same region is going to be very much in your same trade market. Other region, that's going to be farther away. You get to decide if you want to do that. But, you know, only 63% are staying in the same state, right? And so what I really want you to understand is if you're going to do a lot of listings, you need to have a good referral network, because you may not be able to help your sellers. And I mean, no one knows every market, right? And so I would much rather refer my seller out to buy with someone that knows that local market where they want to live. If I got somebody who wants to move to the North Georgia mountains or to Savannah, I'm not just going to drive. I'm going to find someone there that really knows what they're doing. So having a support network, I mean, to be able to refer things back and forth, really, really crucial for us. So key life events. When we look at why do people sell, I mean, are they selling because of interest rates? No, that's not it, right? They sell because, you know, changing job status. Really, it comes down to the 9 Ds, right? Diapers, diamonds, death, divorce, diplomas, downsizing, discretionary income, the daily grind, and dumpsters. All right? This is why people move. And so if you're trying to focus on, like I hear all the time, like, I want to work with more sellers. Well, it's about their behavior, right? And so when you see a dumpster in a driveway, what's that mean?
Again,
Somebody's cleaning it up, someone's rehabbing, that kind of stuff. If you know folks are downsizing, why are they downsizing? They're probably going to move. When folks get raises, that kind of stuff, it increases their discretionary income. What do? Upgrade, that kind of stuff. So all these are triggers for us to be able to help identify when the sellers are looking and ready to go. Everybody with me? All right, I want you to pay attention to this slide very carefully here, because deciding to sell takes 5 months. And that's a very important, that's a statistic I want you to stick, I want to stick with you, because a lot of sellers will say, we're thinking about selling, but they're not gonna put it on the market for 5 months. Now, overall, you guys know real estate folks. How great are we at follow-up?
Not very good.
As an industry, I'm not picking, you know, pointing fingers at any one person, but as an industry, are we good at great follow-up? No. And so if you're not, if you don't have a good solid follow-up plan to keep in touch with sellers for at least 5 months. Now, 5 months is the average. So that means some are 4 and some are 7, 8 months kind of thing before they're ready to sell. Your sellers think about selling for a very long time. The kicker is when you put it together with the next slide, which is sellers involve a real estate agent early on in the process. 70% of our sellers reach out to an agent early on. So 70% of our sellers reach out, but they're not going to sell for 5 months. And then what happens if we don't keep up? Well, I mean, you ever met with a client and then You drive by 2 months later or 3 months later, and there's another agent signing the yard, and then you get, you get all up in your emotions and get your feelings hurt, kind of thing. Like you start saying bad things about their mama, and so like you can understand that you have to have a really solid follow-up system, because it does take the sellers a while to decide to sell. They've got to get through the whole emotional process of, are we really going to move? We raised our kids here. We've got those, all those markings on the door frames when as the kids grew up, all that kind of stuff. It takes some time for some of our sellers to really be able to process that. And the average is about 5 months. And so you have to keep calling back, engaging, reaching out to them. Not that you're bugging them, but you just got to be there. Because if you don't, and if you think that they're just going to call you back, someone else may call them and start engaging with them. And they'll be like, well, I thought you forgot about me. So don't let this happen to you. This is very, very important. So for our sellers, how are they selling their homes right now? So we got about 41% that wants to sell their home as is. Another 48%, which are doing minor repairs, 12% are doing heavy repairs. So overall, about 60% is doing heavier or some sort of repairs to their home. And should we recommend repairs being done to a seller's home, or should we recommend that it's sold as is?
Depends on the situation.
Yeah.
It really does.
I mean, and so you're exactly right. You got a little old lady who has no money and doesn't know anyone to do any repairs. Is that you know what? We should paint this, we should do this, we should do this. Like what's the big difference in selling as is versus selling it repaired when it comes to pricing?
You can add value if you're repairing things.
Well, I mean, are you trying to sell at the top of the market? Well, then you have to be in the same condition as the best properties in that market. You have to be as good as the other homes that you're comparing with. Now, what we can't do is sell as is and expect to get and have our sellers expect to get top pricing unless it's in top condition. And that's really where the big kicker comes here, and being able to explain that, because I think everyone loves the idea of like, I don't have to do anything, I can get top price for it. It's not the case. And while we do have to understand that, a lot of folks will be like, sellers are greedy. You can say that, but how about when it's your house? When it's your house, I'm not greedy. I just want as much, I want as much value as I can get out of it. And I completely understand that. So it does depend on their situation. You're exactly right. There isn't a one size fits all for this question, but that is overall about 60% do make some renovations or heavy renovations, kind of thing. The heavy renovations tend to be flippers and folks that are really trying to build equity back into a property. But the minor renovations, fixes, that's the one that really does kind of like make a big difference when it comes to having, fresh carpet or fresh paint, carpet, those kind of things. Do a really good job, and it will get you higher onto the scale of the better conditioned property. Sorry, babbling this morning. All right, what type of loans are we seeing out there? Are FHA loans bad? No. But overall, for all buyers, they only account for about 15% of total buyers, right? Conventional is the biggest one out there. And again, not that VA is bad, not that, anything like that. It's that we have to understand, like it's one thing to say, look, I know FHA loans are not bad, but we have to also make sure our sellers understand that one, at closing, it's always cash. Once we walk away from the table, everything is cash. That being said, depending on our seller's particular situation, a different financing may be a better option for that seller to offer or not offer. Now, all of our sellers, how do they want to sell their home?
Cash.
Cash is king, and I get that. But someone who's offering cash, do you normally see cash in full price? No. Cash may be king, but it normally comes at a discount. So would you rather have a full price offer with an FHA or a cash offer for 3% less? It does come that way in a lot of cases. We also have to look at the property as far as like, let's say someone just got this property and a flipper purchased that property. Well, you have a flipping rule. And so VA and FHA won't qualify if unless they've had 120 days to season for that property. So that seller may not be able to offer or to accept FHA or VA financing. You know, so it's not that, you know, the other kicker for our sellers is the requirements for our sellers on the different loan types are different when it comes to appraisals. And it comes to just, you know, like for a VA buyer, the seller is required to provide a termite letter. Now, it may only be $50, but if they find the pest, then they have to fix it, right? And so there's a lot of sellers who's like, I'd just rather not deal with it. So they may not accept VA offers. And is that, are sellers able to say, I'm not going to sell my house to a VA or to an FHA?
Yeah.
Yeah, they can.
As long as you list it in the terms,
Yeah.
when the property is listed, at the bottom, it tells you the types of financing that are available. You list
Yeah.
all the ones that they're accepting. And you're always going to have an agent call you and say, hey, I got a great VA person and VA is not listed. Will you take that? Then you have to have a conversation with them.
Maybe you will, maybe you won't, you know?
Yeah.
There's so many different situations where it goes to, like, you know, my house has a well. And so if it has a well, and it has city water, well, I have to connect that to the street for VA and for FHA. If I want to be able to sell it that way. So I wouldn't accept those loan types.
And I'd say having those remarks too in the MLS is so important because it saves everyone time.
Yep, it does. Exactly. All right. Let's talk about for sale by owners real quick here. So what do you know about the average age of all sellers versus for sale by owners?
About the same.
About the same. Married's about the same, single family, single women, all that. So sellers overall look very similar. All sellers look pretty similar to for sale by owners, right? And the homes, but 79, 78% are all single family detached. We do see that overall sellers have more townhomes and for sale by owners have more mobile homes. But other than that, the homes are really, really similar. So these are folks who are, so our average for sale by owners very similar in age, demographics, whole 9 yards. Their homes are very similar, but 80% are still single family detached homes, right? Well then, can y'all explain to me that the average agent assisted price to sell a home is $405,000. The average for sale by owner home is $310,000.
They don't know the price.
Well, there's a lot of reasons why that happens, right? So one, they don't know, do they know how much they should list their home for? No, they don't know that. They also don't know
Negotiation.
well, how good are for sale by owners at negotiating?
Horrible.
Horrible. How about the people who buy for sale by owner homes?
Really good.
A lot of investors, that kind of stuff. They're very, very good. Did they get marketing exposure to the entire marketplace?
No.
So they have very limited marketing exposure. Do they have lot boxes?
No.
No, so they have to be there for every showing. How creepy is that?
Yeah.
Right? Having the seller walk around with you. You know, some of them have this jacked up sign in the front yard. No buyers get vetted. So they all come in, look at the house and then think, gosh, you know, would you guys do owner financing? You know, so you know, the for sale by owners are kind of behind the times when it comes to having it like only about half your for sale by owners actually end up selling themselves. The other half end up going and utilizing a real estate agent out there. So, you know, the most difficult task for them, getting the price right, selling within the time frame, understanding the paperwork, helping the buyer obtain financing, because a lot of them do ask the seller to finance, that kind of stuff. Having enough time, preparing and fixing the home, attracting buyers. So basically everything that goes into selling a home, they have a hard time with. So, and they're doing it to save a commission, right? Well, you may save a couple, you know, several $1,000s on the commission, but if you sell the house for too much, for a lot less than what you could have.
Awesome.
Yeah, and that's the big difference. The average for sale by owner, $310,000. The average agent assisted, $405,000. So the average for sale by owner sells for $95,000 less.
Which would always absorb the commissions.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So when you hear for sale by owner say, I can't afford to pay commissions, Most of the time, you can't afford not to. And I'm just showing you the data. I want you to look at the numbers. This is not just me saying you should always use an agent. Here's why. I mean, you know, like I see a lot of people try and just talk for sale by owners into accepting it. Like, here's the numbers, guys. You know, the average sale by owner sells for a lot less than what the average agent assisted property does. All right. So what is the number one method for selling homes? With an agent? What do you notice about the use of, you know, the dark blue bar? What do you notice about that?
It's gone up.
Well, but I thought the internet was going to change things. I thought we were going to have iBuyers and everybody in the world was going to, you know, there was going to be a new, you know, Uber of real estate, another, you know, Amazon of real estate. We're getting replaced left and right. How about really? We're crucial to the transaction. You know, for sale by owner went up last year, but this year it's back down to 7%, which matches the lowest for sale by owner rate of all time. Like it used to be 13, 14, 15% back in the day. So, you know, I just want you to understand that we are, you know, you see lawsuits, you see all this kind of stuff going on. Still, when it's your most expensive asset, do you just wing that? Or do you want a professional to help guide you through dealing with the most expensive asset that you own? That's where it comes down to, right? So, what do our folks find useful when it comes to like the most useful information source? Us. We are the top information source for our sellers. After that, they're using their laptops and their phones, video. 23% of folks say that open houses, 1 out of 4. That's a really big deal. Like open houses are very, very popular out there for folks to check out when they're really serious about buying. So what's most important on our website? Photos, and then good descriptions for our properties, floor plans, and then real estate agent contact information. Make sure your contact information is everywhere. Because when you share properties, when you share your listing out, 40% of the buyers will reach out to the person that shares that. So make sure it's very easy to find you, to get a hold of you. So what are the methods that real estate agents use to market their homes? There's a bunch here. And my goal with this class today, and I'm not just going to read off this list to you, but like for the average basic agent, what is the basic agent power for? Basic listing agent
Marketing.
Well, no.
Put it in the MLS.
Sign in the yard, lockbox on the door, in the MLS, pray. That's it. And so are you going to do more than that? Like what are you going to do to help your seller to be able to sell faster for more money? That's really what it comes down to. And that really needs to be your tagline. I help my sellers to sell for the most money possible in the shortest amount of time.
And most exposure.
And so like so many agents just do the basic 4. Sign, lockbox, MLS. All right, we're good. Is that what you're going to do as a listing agent? So now you can see that this is the list, but you know, it starts getting really low once you get past the first 7 or 8, right? And honestly, a lot of these kind of things, you don't have to do anyway, right? I mean, do you have to do anything to put it on realtor.com? No. Do you have to do anything to put it on a real estate website? No. Third-party aggregator? No. Company website? No. Now, you may have to do something on social media, but virtual tours, depending on the listing service, it may actually have it automatically in there. So, like, you know, again, the same thing on here. So many agents are just doing the basic 4. And there's so much more that we can do to help market and sell our properties. Now, here's good news. How many agents does the average seller contact or talk to before they decide to list?
3.
1. 81% of sellers go with the first agent they meet face to face.
Yeah.
So what does that mean that we need to do?
Face-to-face appointment.
We need to be first, right? Be the first one to lead with the appointment. Like go and you know, like go meet the clients, talk to them, like tell them what, what they need to do to prepare their home ahead of time, that kind of stuff. So 80% of your 80% of your sellers are going to use the first agent they speak to and meet face to face. It's a really big deal. So what's most important when choosing an agent? Experience, not age, experience. How much, do you know what you're doing? After that, honest and trustworthy, reputation of agent, are you a friend? Really what it comes down to is this is asked a different way, but like, what's the most important skills? Honesty, integrity, responsiveness, and knowledge of the process. Those are the biggies. And so like, especially for new agents and there's a lot of folks that are very, especially a lot of new agents and even some older agents that, or agents that have been in the business for a while that just, they don't feel comfortable with listings and they don't want to start with listings. The buyers is easier for me, that kind of thing. Like what's most important for our sellers? Honesty, integrity, responsiveness, knowledge of the process. Like get your knowledge of the process and you're in really, really good shape here. So now this is what sellers want most from us. And there's 3 items on here, and there's been 3 items for the last 15 years. And the 3 items change from year to year. So this is not one that I want you to focus on the top one. I want you to focus on the top 3, because all 3, depending on the year, are big deals to your clients. So the first one is help me price my home competitively. So the first one, price. Second, help me market the home. Now they're all going to say help me market, but we know so help me price it right, help me market. The third, timing. Price, marketing, timing. Those are the 3 most important things to our sellers, and it's been this way as long as I've been tracking this data. Yes, sir.
Is the time frame because of interest rates?
No, time frame is because I need to sell and then buy, or I want to sell at this point. Like it's about their timing. It's not about the interest rates.
Oh, I didn't know it's like some people want to hear then the interest rates do right.
Well, but that would be for their individual call, right? Like again, if I'm one of those sellers that have 100% equity in my home, and as long as I'm not buying $1 million more, I'm not going to have to finance that property properly. So, but seriously, like realize that these 3 are your big 3: pricing, timing, market. And so knowing that, what do you think are messages that we should be speaking about on social media, when we're into our database, when we're trying to attract clients? Timing. Right? Yeah, y'all with me, right? I kind of threw that up there, right? All right. How well do we do at negotiating our commission? Half the time we initiate the conversation. But 20% of the time, we act like the elephant in the room is not really there, and then we end up lowering our commission. So the thing is here, like when the client has to bring it up, 20% of the time, we'll cave. Only 5% of the time will we stick to our guns. Like 15% of your sellers don't even know they can negotiate commission. Well, really, I take that back. 26% of your sellers didn't even know they could negotiate commission on there is really what it comes down to. So if you want to be in charge of this conversation, what should you do?
Bring it up.
You bring it up.
Initiate conversation. Yeah, don't act like do you need to discuss commission as part of your listing presentation?
Yeah.
Yes or yes?
Yes.
So there's a lot of agents just kind of hem and haw around it and think that the seller is going to be like, okay, and just and if you let them bring it up, chances are you're going to buckle. And I'm not saying I'm trying to stick to my sellers, but like these are the services I provide, these are the fees I charge. Boom, that's where I'm at, and that's how I feel about that. So, how are we compensated? Because the reason I wanted to bring this up is, so when you look at this in here, our sellers and our buyers don't know who's paying what. It's confusing, right? Because for our sellers, all right, I'm going to pay you and I'm gonna pay my listing agent and I'm not, do I have to pay the other agent because, there's all these lawsuits and you guys have been colluding, so do we have to do that now? And then if you have them sign a buyer brokerage agreement at the same time, they're gonna sign that and saying that they're gonna pay a commission on there too. So we need to be very clear about who we represent, what services you provide, and what fees you charge. Because when you look at this data, you're like, okay, nobody knows what anybody's doing. And so this is the basis why we have a lot of the lawsuits, is because sellers don't know who's paying, buyers don't know who's paying, no one's being really clear up front with everything. And we have to be. And we'll go into more detail. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks for that in a little bit. Overall, how satisfied are sellers with the selling process?
Very.
All right, I'm gonna bust you again, right? Yeah, 70%, right? That means 30% are not very satisfied. I think that there is a incredible opportunity to be a great listing agent because 30% of our agents don't get ranked as being as satisfying their clients fully. Like I'm not saying, like you can say very dissatisfied, somewhat satisfied, but you're either very satisfied or you're not. And so 3 out of 10 are not. And I think that there's a real opportunity. If you want to do more listings, there's a lot of room to really be able to show out and show up. So would the seller use us again? That number comes up pretty close. 73% would definitely use us again. That's not that high, right? Again. Now here's another again, not bad, but yeah, it is. Like, how many times does the average seller recommend us? You do an amazing job and they love you, but they'll only tell one person. I don't see, well, but it's kind of the nature of the business, right? So like they'll say I love you, but on average, the times they recommend it, they only recommend you one time. And honestly, hopefully they're going to recommend to someone who's actually going to buy or sell. All right. How about sales price compared with listing price based on time frame? And what I want you to see on here is that, like when you look at the sales price, what happens when a property stays on the market longer? What do we have to do? Right. And so like look at how many folks are, we're down to 95% after 9 weeks. 95% of list price after 9 weeks. That's a 5% reduction in price. On a lot of homes, that's pretty significant. What do you think would happen if they had started off at that price or a more realistic price in the very beginning?
Sold immediately.
Yeah.
Okay, because the longer a property sits on the market, when a house sits there, what do you think?
Something's wrong.
Something's wrong. What's wrong with it? I want to go, right? So now the other thing here that happens, so we have to reduce the asking price and that kind of stuff. But what else do we have to start doing when it stays on the market longer? It's not just list price. Well, what else? We got to sweeten that deal a little bit now. Now we're throwing in a home warranty. Now we're going to be, throwing in closing costs. Look how it started. In 9 weeks, 16% of folks are throwing in closing costs. On average, another 3%. Now we're talking 8% of an impact, right? 11% are offering credits or are doing more repairs. Another 10, 11%. Offering home warranty, there's another $500, right? So what I'm saying is that it's not just price. When that house sits on the market, yes, we're going to have to take, the longer it sits there, the more price reductions we're going to have to do. But then it's all the other things which cost your seller money, right? I've got to do a home warranty. I've got to make repairs. I'm going to throw in closing costs. So it's very easy. We see it very common where a house that sits on the market for 9 weeks, on average, takes a 10% cut by the time you add it all up. So would you be better off maybe listing 5% less, being more realistic than just sticking it out there? And so I give you this just so you have the information you need to be able to have intelligent conversations with your sellers. right? Because the other side of this is, do I want a seller to sell for a penny less than they can get? No, no. So like, I get paid based on what we sell for. So like, I want to sell for it absolutely as much as possible. I want my clients overjoyed. I'm not trying to stick it to anybody, but we got to be realistic. So, you know, we have to explain that to your clients. It's not about me trying to talk you into taking less, Mr. Seller. We have to understand that these are the consequences if we go in overpriced. So what method do we use? Or what method do our sellers use to find their real estate agent?
Referral.
Referrals and past clients, rules the roost, much more so. It's a little over 50% of our buyers find their real estate agent from referrals and past clients. What is it with sellers? 65%. 2/3 of your sellers come from referrals and past clients. Why is it important that we recognize that?
So we do really well.
Well, that's one, but like what I see is there's so many agents that chase shiny penny, right? There's always someone that has their hand in our pocket talking about how they're going to make, you know, just do this, give me money, spend this here, invest here, they'll do all that. Well, now that sounds well and good. Where's the biggest chunk of our clients come from? Referrals and past clients. Is that very expensive to manage? I mean, in order to engage with? No, it isn't. And so that's the thing, like it's about focusing on that. So before we lead gen, before we really start, you know, trying to generate leads, make sure you Google yourself. First name, last name, real estate. Check yourself out. You want to make sure you show up right in Trulia, Zillow, Georgia MLS, Realtor.com, Facebook, Google My Business account, all that kind of stuff. Because are your clients going to check you out?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Right. I mean, if I'm going to spend anything over $100, I'm reading reviews on Amazon. So if I'm spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, I'm definitely going to read reviews on you. And so we got to make sure that we come across as having, you know, a good recent photo, not 20 pounds and 20 years ago, because we will catfish a photo in a second. You know, do you have a message that kind of matches with what you really want to be? And it should be a similar message on all the different platforms. So there's no surprises on there. You know, do you appear trustworthy and professional? That trust factor is so important, especially on listing homes. Like they're trusting you to come into their home. And so like you have to be honest, trustworthy. That's one of the most important things. You have a real email address, a business email is just fine to be able to use on theirs. And then the testimonials that you get. The best way to get testimonials is in how you ask. Because if you say, hey, can I get a review? Can I get a testimonial? You'll get this really lame stuff that's like, Mark did good. Thanks. But if you say, what was your concern before the transaction? What was your result? How did I do? When you ask it those three ways, you get a seller that tells a story of, I was so worried about this. I didn't think we'd be able to do this. And you know what? This is what really happened. And I couldn't have done it without Alan. That's something that carries weight for you. And all that is just a basic script to get them to tell a story, right? Because people like stories. Those go over really, really well. And then, do you look like your commission that you charge? It's like it's important for our buyers. It's doubly important for our sellers. You come pulling up in a hoopty, they're gonna judge you, right? So you gotta come up looking tight and right. You gotta be ready to go. Like they want, like it's important that you come across professional in your appearance, especially for your sellers. They're trusting you with the most expensive asset that they have. It really, really does matter.
That's why I like buyers.
Well, no booty shorts. That's all I'm saying, right?
I'm gonna get my car out the shop, but until then, it's like
I wasn't trying to pick on your car. All right. We've had folks Uber before, so it's okay. Yeah, Uber to a listing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but instead of pulling up to a hoopty, I mean.
Yeah. Well, It's hard to go in the country club like that. That's all I'm saying, right? So, yeah. Park with the neighbors and just walk over. There you go. All right. All right, let's move on. So we know all that, but now this is not a class about lead generation. We have a completely separate class of lead generation, but I didn't want to give you not give you something. So in here, you know, in your handouts, in your book, are a whole series of different lead generating ideas that you can do in order to generate leads, right? And so like please read through those, identify the ones that really speak to you, you know, identify the ones that are going to help you target the sellers that you're trying to reach, that kind of thing. And take our lead generation class. We teach a lead generation class for this reason. You know, there's also some referral sites where you can do. There's not as many referral sites for listings. The vast majority are for working for buyers, but there are some. Now, once you generate all those leads, what do you do with it then? Fortunately,
Yeah.
this is what most agents hear. You know, most agents would rather do just about anything than engage in their database or their CRM. Okay, this is just a joke. Okay, that's all this is. Most folks would just rather not deal with it. They don't deal with it, that kind of stuff. And so literally we'll do anything else. But there's a lot of value in your CRM, in your database, and in your systems out there. So make sure that everything goes in and out of your CRM, and whether I use the term CRM, database, sphere of influence, it all means the same thing, right? And so this is how we're going to market out to our clients, is through our database. So if we make calls out to people, where are we getting that number from? Our database. That's the tool, and we may call out through it. When they respond, those responses and those notes go back into our database. We are going to share properties out of our database. You know, we're going to have a website, hopefully, that captures leads through our database. We send text messages. It should go out through our database. So they respond into our database. Email, in and out, same kind of thing. So the whole idea is that we're going to generate leads, and the leads that we generate go into our database. The database is what we use to flourish and to build better relationships, because we have to be what before they're going to do business with us? Trusted, right? And so the database is there to help us build trust, to show professionalism, all the things that we need for our sellers to really be ready to say, yeah, I'll use Alan to list my home. I trust him. He knows what he's doing, that kind of thing. So important. Think back to the reasons that you know, what our sellers are finding most important. Having a database and using that to engage and reach out to them, that's where the magic, I mean, that's where the secret sauce really is. See, unfortunately, a lot of people take leads and think that they have to lead generate all the time. And you can do that. If you're not going to use a database, then you have to always be generating leads. Because if you're not generating leads, then you don't have any business. That's the problem with using some of the the Zillows and that kind of stuff. I mean, because if you're not going to follow up, then you always have to be chasing. You always got to be on the hunt, as opposed to building relationships and building trust, which you don't have to always be hunting the exact same way. It's much more expensive to lead gen. How expensive is it to focus on referrals and past clients? Not nearly as much, right? I'm not saying that there's no expense involved, and your time is definitely an expense as well. But like, I know most real estate folks, they got more time than they got money. So let's be straight up.
And like we talked about the other day, guys, the CRM is your paid or unpaid, however you want to look at it, a virtual assistant that follows up with them. If you set up the smart plans correctly, the nurturing plans correctly, and they'll call you out of the blue and say, hey, thanks a lot for sending me that information. I just so happened that I did need to check the air filter on my furnace, or I did need to change the batteries on my smoke detector. But that's information that you sent them, or your CRM sent them automatically. Like we talked about the other day, my CRM sent out 11,000 emails last month. When would I have had time to do that? I wouldn't. It does it automatically because I have it all set up. and it nurtures and it keeps up with the people. And when they call me out of the blue and say, hey, thanks a lot. Luckily, I'm close to my laptop and I can scramble over there and see what the email was that it sent. But we have a conversation because they felt like I'm keeping in touch. I'm keeping in touch. And that's what makes them call me. I'm liked, I'm trusted. I kept up with them. I sent them valuable information. And now they're like, oh man, now it's time to use Mark again and again and again.
So Levi asked, what's the best lead system for working with sellers? And honestly, it really starts with who's your target client, right? Because there isn't one lead system that's best, right? Like depending on who you want to work with, like you have to focus it around who is your target client. And it starts with who is your target client. And you have to, if you're identifying move up sellers, retirees, millennial sellers, those kind of things, that can really help kind of do, everything should work off. This is who I'm trying to work with. And so that target client is really a key crucial thing. And then look at the different lead systems as how they pertain to what you like to do. I know a lot of agents who say, I need to work for sale by owners. I need to work expired listings. Those are the two that I hear most of the time. And I'll be like, no, you don't. Like a lot of agents are relational. They're very much built for relationships. If you are, and they don't take rejection very good. And so if you aren't ready to get hung up on and possibly cussed out, don't work expired and for sale by owner listings. Because when you call for sale by owners, some of those folks, they rough. Some of them are not happy to talk to you. Some of them are angry at you. And largely because sometimes agents lie to them, right? Like I just got a client, I just want to see, a client wants a preview, la. And expired listings, the average expired listing gets 17 phone calls the first week. If you're number 16, they're pretty fed up at that point. And so if you can't handle that kind of rejection, just saying, I want to work expireds and for sale by owners is not the right choice for you. Yes, you can do it, but like I see most of the time, you're much better off building your database, engaging with your database, and building and focusing on relationships and trust. So the other kicker with listings is like most of your listing leads are not immediate. You have to build trust, right? It's just not an overnight thing. All right. Once the phone does ring, what do we got to do?
Answer it.
Answer the phone. Okay, this is a big deal. I know so many people like you don't know the number, or I don't even mean if it says spam, which I try and answer the spam ones too. Now, if I hear click, I hang up right away. But I will answer spam calls too, just because you just never know anymore. So answer your phone because you don't know all your clients. And honestly, if a seller calls you and you don't answer the phone, what are they doing? They are not going to use you because they just made a phone call to you. You didn't answer. Or if you couldn't answer, you didn't call right back, that kind of stuff. So be very responsive on your phone if you can. Sellers really, really care a lot about that. All right, now we got to be ready. Like we have to be prepared to take listings. And part of it is a mental thing, but part of it is just a physical prepared point of view. Now, I am old school. I'm gloriously old school. I have no problem with old school. There's a lot, I'm pretty techie for an old school guy, but I see a lot of value in old school. And so I prepare folders ahead. Now, if you've taken my buyer class, you already know, this is where I was going, but I prepare folders and I keep them in the car, in the office, in my house. So if I have to go to a listing appointment, I've got what I need to be able to come forward, look professional, prepared, trustworthy, all that. So the first thing that we do is, how about if I show you my folders? How's that sound? All right. So I'll let you look while I kind of go through it. All right, so first thing we want to do is you need 2 copies of your exclusive seller brokerage engagement agreement. Why 2?
We'll take one.
Yeah, because, I didn't pack the copy machine in the back of the car. So, like all of our clients need to have signed copies of anything that they sign. So it's just easier to have them sign 2 copies. Now, in addition, can you pre-print some special stipulations on there?
Okay.
So, for example, if seller cancels or withdraws the listing for any reason, seller shall pay the broker a $50 cancellation fee. Covers $25 in Georgia MLS, $25 in FMLS, and that covers that fee up front. Can you do it?
Yes.
Should you? It's up to you. How about seller shall pay to your broker a $395 administration fee at closing? Can you do it?
Yes.
Should you do it?
Your broker.
I never did that, but yeah, your broker has to agree with that. We have agents that do it. I never actually did that one. Now, I do always the third one. Seller shall pay 0.0012 of the final sales price for FMLS listing exposure payable at closing. Basically, it's $120 per 100,000. And I do that because all my properties are listed in both MLSs. I don't care if it's a mandatory county or not. All my properties get listed in both. And my feeling is that this is the cost of doing business. This is what it costs to list your home. And if a seller ever asks, I'm like, do you not want to have, do you want to have half as much exposure on your property? Like for me, as a listing agent, it's important. I've sold so many houses in non-mandatory or non-compulsory areas simply because I had listed everywhere. And so for me, that's an important step. Can I have my seller pay for it? Mm-hmm. Can I do this after the fact? See, that's the kicker, right? That's why you want it pre-printed on your special steps up front, is because if they agree to it in advance, no problem. You can't go back afterwards and say, hey, there's $120 per 100,000. You okay with that? That's when it's not okay. Y'all follow me? Right. So you get to decide if you want to do that. But if you do it, go ahead and write it up, put it in the special steps as part of the exclusive seller brokerage agreement kind of thing. The other thing you want to have, seller's net sheet. Why do we want a seller's net sheet?
So you can help break it down.
Well, but really, when you're going to sell, like if you're going to sell your house, what's the most important number that you want to know? And so I can't believe how many agents don't do seller's net sheet. We've gotten out of it the past several years because like if you didn't do it like back in 2007, market crashed, right? You didn't do a seller's net sheet, you may get to closing table and not really realize they ain't got no money. Like it's going to cost them money to go to closing. So it was a mandatory thing we really had to do. But your sellers, this is an important thing. We'll go through that a little bit more. I'm gonna have a copy of my seller's property disclosure form. Why do I have it with me?
We can start filling.
I wanted to fill it out then and there. All right, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. I want an owner information checklist. Now, I do this because when I get back, I forget stuff a lot. And it just really helps me to make sure I get all my ducks in a row. And all that, and there's nothing magical about this checklist. It's just the things to make sure that you got your ducks in a row on it kind of thing. I like to get a list of utility providers from my sellers. There is nothing other than nice about this, if that makes sense. Right? Like this is just showing that, I know that are the buyers going to ask?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll just go ahead and put it in the docs and be done with it. And then I'm going to have cursory information, like all your vendors that you partner with, they're going to be, your closing attorney, that kind of stuff. I'm going to put all that information. What happens when you share your vendor's information in your listing package? How does that make you look?
Prepared.
It validates you, right? All these are professionally designed brochures and pamphlets and those kind of things. And then last thing that we do is we do our checklists. And so we have moving checklist, prep for I can't speak very well. Sorry, photography, thank you. Pre-listing checklist, buyer checklist. Why do I give my sellers a buyer checklist? Well, do I want one transaction out of this or do I want 3?
They got to live somewhere.
right? Because I want to represent them in the sale. I'd love to represent them in the purchase, and I'd love to represent the new buyer too, if I can. I mean, I want to represent everybody if I can. So, you know, listings is a powerhouse. So I absolutely want to talk to my my sellers about buying. If nothing else, I want to get a referral out of this. So, and then showing checklist, you know, no underwear on the floor, that kind of stuff. All this is just really good information to share. I love, you know, I mean, this is what Ming and I use for forever kind of thing. Super easy to make and do, but see, the whole idea is that before I even go on a showing, if I show up and I look and I've got this already, just walking in the door, like who came prepared?
You do.
Right? I mean, like I know so many agents wing it. They're just all they're doing is gunslingers, and so like they'll show up like skid in on 2 wheels to a showing appointment kind of thing and be like, I'm here, baby, and like that's all you brought. Like they don't even bring nothing. I got my cell phone, I'm good to go. And so when I show up, I came I come very prepared, and it starts for me by getting everything together that I'm gonna need before I ever go on the listing appointment, right? Because that's the whole deal, is that we want to make sure, like what are the really important things for our sellers? Well, and remember, like that I know what I'm doing, right? I mean, you remember like most important factors in selecting a real estate agent: knowledge of process. Right? I show up, I got a folder, who knows what they're doing? Right. Honesty, integrity, trust, all that is immediately jacked up. So please, they're so easy to do. Almost every brokerage has a set of folders. All of them have the vendor information. You can set, you know, like if you don't want to do the checklist, don't do the checklist. But like it's one of those things where show up with, you know, have your property disclosure, have all these things ready when you get there. And we'll talk a little bit more about that too. So in addition to that, you want to be, no, that's fuzzy. You want to be able to qualify any listing appointments that you set up. So most of the time you're going to talk to them on the phone. And so of course you want to get their name and address and that kind of stuff. I want to ask them how they hear about us. Why is that important?
Tracking.
Keep up with your marketing.
Hey, what works, right? You know, is this a referral? Because if I get a referral, who's my first phone call after getting off here?
The person.
I'm calling the Smiths and saying, gosh, thank you so much. That's one of the best things you can do to get more referral listings is go thank someone that gives you a referral. So I want to know that right away. And then, you know, where are you looking to move to? Right? Why do I want to know that right away?
Set up a search.
Can I represent them in the buy, or is this going to be a referral opportunity for me? You know, are you planning on moving in the next 3 to 6 months? I'm just trying to get a realistic time frame of what they're looking for. You know, most of the time it's gonna be like, well, as soon as school gets out or these kind of things. You know, we always see a lot of listings come up right then, but I want to know what kind of time frame. Remember, that's one of my big 3. Timing is one of your big 3. So you need to know right away, what is their expectation on timing? Next, I want to know, are they interviewing other agents? Now, 81% of the time, they're not. But if they are, I want to know, because I like to be last. Some folks like to be first, but for me, let me go last because I'm going to outdo what anybody else did. So that's kind of my personal take on them. So, you know, and I also say, listen, just promise me you won't list with anyone because I'm going to, you know, you're going to be impressed when I get there kind of thing. And so now I want them to tell me about their home, you know, bedrooms, bathrooms, just the normal, you know, that kind of stuff, ranch, whatever, basement, finish, that kind of stuff. And then I want to say, how much were you thinking about selling it for? Now, we've not done a CMA, we've not talked price, but does that seller have a number in their mind?
Oh, yeah, probably.
No, not probably. If you're thinking about selling, you'd be like, you know, just whatever. They've got a number in mind. Now, I need to know what that number is So I want to know what I'm walking into. I need to know, are you bonkers? You have no idea what reality. Like, yeah, we got a 3-2 ranch. We were hoping to get 500,000. Like, not in Henry County, you're not, kind of thing. You know, like let's go to Bucket, maybe. But you know, I need to know what I'm working with. And so I'm not asking them for a commitment on price. We're not negotiating on list price here. I just need to kind of get an idea of where their head is at. And then I say, listen, when I show up, I really need you to make sure that you have a copy of the key and a copy of your special warranty deed and what your payoff amount is. I can't explain how exciting it is to go meet a client at the door and they hand you a copy of their security deed. Here's the key. What do we do now? Like if somebody hands you a key and a security deed when you get to the front door, do you have that listing?
Yeah.
Yes, you absolutely have that listing, kind of thing. And it just kind of helps them to go and, you know, like probably the most important one is to figure out what their payoff is. Because I'm going to do it and net to seller, I need to know what their payoff is. So how we got time?
10:30.
10:30. Let's keep rolling here.
Mm-hmm.
So now we need to start looking at, do we need to have a listing presentation? Yes. Can we wing it?
I would.
It has been done.
It has been done. There's an understatement right there. And unfortunately, it gets done way more than I like to admit, kind of thing. And so you need to decide how you do real estate. You need to decide what's important for you. You know, like how are you going to stand out? You know, have you ever thought about that? I mean, do all agents list property the exact same way? No. Again, we already know most agents just do the basic 4. And if you're a basic agent, do you have a listing presentation?
Probably.
No, because do you need a listing presentation when all I'm gonna do is put the sign in the yard, lockbox in the door, and in the MLS, I'm done. Yeah, really hard to do a presentation about that, right? That one goes really, really quickly. So first thing you want to look at though is what do you want in your listing presentation? Like what's important for it to be there? So I think there should always be something that talks about you a little bit, just about who you are, your values. Again, this is your chance to build trust. Some folks will have their reviews or that kind of thing in there. Some will have team bios of all the other folks that are on their team. Some will have their partners in there. Some may list their closing attorney, their closing attorney, that kind of stuff. Taglines, unique selling propositions, branding, any kind of designations. If you are trying to share your designations, please spell them out. Clients don't know what ABR and CRS and you know ASAP, PDQ. No one knows what all that is. So spell out what those designations are. You do want to talk about your company, but not too much, right? Are they going to do business with you, or are they doing business with your company?
With us.
Right? People don't trust companies. You do want to put your company out there. It needs to be a part of who you are. You know, you need to make sure you're doing it under the name of the brokerage. But that being said, they trust you. And so if you're using a company listing presentation, make sure it's more about you and your client than it is about the company. I've seen some of them that, you know, first 10, 12 pages is all about the company, and no one trusts companies. Take it from a guy that owns a company. They don't trust companies. They trust people. It's really where it comes down to. Are you going to be an individual agent or a team agent? What's better?
Depends.
Depends. How?
Depends on how you're actually going to work with the clients. So if they want to expect that it's just going to be you that they deal with, you want to go straight individual agent. I don't do it that way. They're going to do business with me, but I have a bunch of agents that are going to help me. So I let them know up front. I have a team of agents I work with. Sometimes it'll be one person who does this. I am your point of contact. I am your agent, but I have a group of people that work with me so that you never have to wait.
Yeah. If you're a team agent, then it's you know, I got a guy for that. I got a lady for that. Well, if you're an individual agent, it's that I'm here for everything you need. You know, so we see folks who rock it from the team approach and folks who blow other teams away because of the individualized approach. Make sense? Photography. What are you gonna do about photography?
Cell phone pictures are just fine. If you don't want to sell a lot.
Thank you. Very good. I appreciate that pause. You had me for a minute. I started puckering up there for a second. No, I mean, I think photography is so important. But like, you know, you have to also like, where do you draw the line? You know, are you going to do drones on everyone? Are you going to do daytime, nighttime? You know, are you going to do video? For me, it's about the price of the property. It really does dictate that. So I always talk about professional photography, but I never list exactly what that is because, you know, I might list a trailer on 5 acres. I'm probably not going to be doing, you know, daytime, nighttime photography for that one. So, but you know, Mark's point about professional photography, even on a trailer, I'm using a photographer. So, you know, are you going to use call capture, voice pad that, you know, like do your signs have that call here for 24/7 access? Do you do print brochures and media and flyers? Do you prepare those kind of things for your property? You know, do you list your property in multiple MLSs or do you just do it in one? It's a good way to, you know, let them know what it is. You know, do you get national and international exposure? Do your listings get syndicated out? You know, do you send email blasts out to other agents? You know, zip my flyer. Do you also send it out to potential buyers? That's going to be in the form of, for most time, it's going to be the reverse prospecting, or, you know, you can also do that with Zip My Flyer as well, that kind of thing. You know, do you have local offices, regional offices? Do you get really great exposure on Zillow, which I'll show you some tricks on a little bit later? Do you do a virtual tour? Is virtual tours and videos important?
Oh, yeah.
Really, really important, right? And so, matter of fact, 75% of your sellers want you to do video. Only like 15% of agents actually do video. So, but you know, you need to talk about video, talk about virtual tours. Are you a realtor? Like, I'm a very proud realtor. You know, do you do pay-per-click advertising? You know, most of the time those will be the agents, like we have the buyers, that kind of thing. You know, are you going to do just listed mail? Now, let's be honest. Who is just listed mail for? No, like if I list your home in this neighborhood and I'm going to send it to 100 closest neighbors. Are any of them going to buy your house? Who's it for?
Yeah.
It's for me, but now I'm going to sell it like it's for my clients, just to be honest with you. Websites, you know, there's a bunch of built-in websites that we all have, but some folks will actually build custom websites for their clients. Are you going to recommend that your sellers sell with a home warranty?
Yes.
Yeah. You know, but you know, again, you get to decide that. Are you going to do an open house or going away parties?
Open house, yes.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of open house, but again, it's your business. Decide what it is that you want to do. How do you handle staging? You know, do you use a staging company? Are you trained in staging, that kind of stuff? Do you do broker tours? Real estate book, that's kind of old, but it's still out there, kind of thing. Feedback and communication. This one is really, really crucial for sellers, because with sellers, all your work is on the front end. And, you know, like when I first get a listing, we're going to take photos and we're going to have photographers and we're going to be going out and looking at the property. We're going to be scripting listings. We're going to be sending it out, marketing it everywhere. And then, you know, showings come, boom, we negotiate through. Now we're under contract. What do you do now? Wait, that's what you do. And for a lot of agents, they're like, there's nothing to talk about. That's a bad thing. For us, it's always Tuesday evening. If we have a contract with any kind of contract, whether it's a buyer brokerage agreement, listing agreement, anything like that, you're going to hear from us Tuesday evening. That's when we make all of our phone calls, is Tuesday evening. And the reason that we moved into doing it on Tuesday evening is because that's how we stopped missing people. Because if you don't do it that way, then it's like, I'll call Bob tomorrow. Okay, I'll call him the next day. Okay, I'll call Bob. It's the weekend. I'll call Bob Monday, and then Tuesday, and then next thing you know, like we hear these horror stories, and sometimes we see the horror stories at closing, where, you know, we may represent the buyer. We walk in, and there's the listing agent, and the listing agent walks in. The seller's there, like, I haven't seen you in 3 weeks. I haven't seen you in a month. You haven't talked to me. Like, I didn't even know if you're going to show. Like, so.
Wow.
like, and for your sellers, is there really much to tell them in a lot of cases? No, but what do they need?
They hear from
They
me.
just need a little bit of stroking and a little bit of like everything's fine. We're totally under control. I've got this taken care of. There's no new news. There's nothing going on. Just that process of talking to them at least every week will make you a better listing agent, and it will make your clients really appreciate you. Because like I said, there's just so much activity in the beginning, and then you just hit this giant lull, and then it's closing. I mean, not always, but you know, sometimes there's more issues than that, but sometimes there isn't. And so that communication piece, I think it's crucial that it's in any kind of listing presentation that you do. It's always good to be able to share, you know, like where the buyers are coming from, that kind of stuff. You want it on every listing presentation, you need to be able to have the props and the support that you need to be able to talk about pricing. And we're going to go into that in a lot more detail later on, but pricing, property, like remember, what are our big three? Timing, marketing, price. So what are the three things you have to make sure is covered in here? Timing, marketing, price, right, okay. So marketing times, there we are. Timelines, there we are. Goals, you know, like you do want to make sure that you get that you know what your client's goals are. Because if my goal is to get the most money possible, well, then we're going to need to fix it up in the best condition. Like, but if I don't know what your goals are, we can't help you reach there. You know, getting to know the seller, the house. You know, do you do home pre-inspections? Most don't, but maybe that's a thing that you want to go after. Some folks will do pre-appraisals. I will do a pre-appraisal if it's a goofy house. You know, well, we just sold a house that it had 3 single family dwellings on the same lot. Like, how do you comp that out? I mean, how many other comps do I have with 3 houses on it? So at that point, you know, there's a time to call in appraisers on that kind of stuff. You know, we have some folks doing TV and radio. You know, how about your signs? You know, do you have really nice signs that you can show off and brag? Are you big into social media? Are you going to post everything out there? Do you do live prospecting? You know, like if you're prospecting already, it could be a good thing to talk about. Do you share examples of what your properties look like as you list them? Wordsmithing listings. Okay, ChatGPT makes wordsmithing listings a breeze now, but I think it's a really important thing. It's actually the second most wanted thing out of your website is good property descriptions. You know, do you do direct mail? How do you handle negotiation? Do you understand negotiation? Always we have to talk about agency and who we represent. Will you offer a rebate? Like after I sell this house, when you buy the next one, I'll give you $500 off, 1% off, whatever, that kind of stuff. The whole idea is that you're trying to get another deal out of that. So you can go through and build all of this. You get to decide. Now, you also have the option of going digital. Like a lot of your databases, CRMs these days, like ours, you know, we use KB Core and it has a listing presentation built right into it kind of thing. And so you can go in there and put the whole thing together if that's what you wanted to do online. I'll be honest with you, I'm not a fan. And like I am techie and I am old school too. How old is our average seller right now? 60, right? How much I mean, how open do you feel that they're going to be to a digital presentation?
No,
I don't find them to be nearly as effective. I know they're out there and I'm not knocking them, okay? But that being said, okay, let me take that back. I am knocking them. I don't see a lot of value in doing the online ones. I'm just being brutally honest kind of thing. So now for my folks online and for you guys here, these are all different listing presentations out there. And so online, if you go to the same place where the books are Max One Partners /resources /CE class, you can see all these listing presentations that other agents have done. Now, none of these agents are local agents because that would be super crappy to do. So none of them are local. All these are, you know, from around the U.S. at a different place. But what's special about all these is these are all agents that went in and looked at their market and said, this is what my marketplace needs. This is what it means for me to list property. this is what's important to me. This is how I do real estate. They organized all that information together and they started putting it together. And that's what they use to present to their clients. They're organized, they're prepared, and it really does help you go into it kind of knowing exactly what you're doing. When you go in with a presentation, do you think that they're going to be like, are you new?
No.
Nobody says that. But that especially for newer agents, that's always the question that I get asked a lot, right? Is that, well, what do I say when they ask me how many I've done? What do I say when they ask me how long I've been in the business? And like the really lame answer is nobody asked me, right? But now you could say, okay, you're old, Al. Okay, maybe that's it. But really, you know, like when I go, I'm prepared. I know what I'm talking about. I brought my folders. I've got all the information that I need to be able to present and to put this thing forward. And that puts me in a very strong position right from the very beginning. I mean, no one thinks, gosh, I wonder if he knows what he's doing. And for all these agents who went and did that, you know, they went and, you know, pulled together all this information. And so please look at these. Feel free not to steal my books because I use them for class, but all these books are online right there. So if you want to go see any of those, I'm a big fan of R&D, rip off and duplicate. It could be research and development, but rip off and duplicate is probably a lot more appropriate kind of thing. So, you know, like now's the time to look at what do you want to do, right? Because you've got to go in and you have to, first of all, weigh out what is an investment and what is a cost. And you have a lot more opportunities on the listing side than you do on the buyer side, right? So what's the difference between an investment versus a cost?
That's what makes you money, cost you.
Well, I'm going to use an investment to get more business. So like, is my photographer an investment or a cost?
Investment.
Well, it's an investment if I tell my potential sellers about it. If I just do it and don't point it out, don't identify it, then nobody knows.
Right.
You know, like is a pre-appraisal, is that an investment or a cost?
It could be a cost.
It can be a cost if I don't talk about what an amazing thing that I'm doing for you, kind of thing. But like on the listing side, more so than the buyer side, there's a lot of opportunities, I guess you'd say, to spend money. I mean that in a positive way, right? But you have to decide, what investments am I going to make? Am I going to use a real estate photographer? That's when I see screwed up a lot. Like
Yeah.
Great listing agents always use a real estate photographer.
When you say it could be an investment, if you tell the customer, your client about it, are you saying that because you're gonna put it into the calls?
Well, no, I don't mean that. Okay, so just so I'm online, am I going to put it into the cost? No, what I mean is when I sit down and I'm going to show my potential sellers or my prospective sellers the type of photography that I do, because they know that pictures sell. And so that's going to help me get more listings.
Gotcha.
Right now, that being said, can you pass those fees over?
Yeah.
If you have it written up beforehand.
You can if you have it written up in advance. That is true. I'm personally, I don't. And I know most agents don't. I know some folks try. Normally what I see are the folks who are like struggling will say, can I get the seller to pay for this? Because I don't have gas money today. It's really tough. Like you know, our commissions are normally a pretty big chunk. My personal feeling is I build that into my commissions. Right. But yeah. Well, I mean, and again, but does that mean that that's the only answer? No. I'm not saying you can't do it, just that I wouldn't, if that makes any sense. So, you know, look at what are the investments that you want to make in growing your business, because there are a lot of opportunities in here. You know, like I don't normally do pre-appraisals, but I will if I have to, if that makes sense.
Right.
You know, like same thing with photography. You know, we sold a 25-acre property with with big barns and that kind of stuff. So I did flyover. I did drone. I did daytime, nighttime. But when it's $1 million property, it's not too hard to do, right? Makes a lot of sense. So, so the other thing you want to do is decide what you want to do. Like we went through that laundry list, right? And can you do all those things on that laundry list?
Yeah.
Huh?
You can, I would.
Yeah, there's too much, right? I think there's just way too much, but like everything that was on that list are in those books that are floating around here right now in one form or another. Somebody felt that it was important, okay? But, you know, decide what you want to do and then be prepared to do what you say. So you got to make checklists. And so if I'm going to say I'm going to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, then you got to have a checklist of A, B, C, D, E, F, G that you actually do it on there. There, you know, what are you gonna do to make it visually appealing? Are you gonna do print or digital? Again, check it out. Like you know, this is our seller's guide, which is pretty similar to our buyer's guide kind of thing. Exact same kind of way. But you know, the whole idea is that we want to be able to walk through with that client. What is our process to sell homes? Right. This is how I do real estate. Yes, sir.
Question, would you pay for staging?
It depends on the price point. And so the question is, will I pay for staging? So I am like I teach a staging class and I'm a certified home stager. So on one hand, I have the experience necessary. I also have a group of stagers because sometimes your clients won't listen to you. So sometimes I will pay a stager. Normally it's about $300 or $400 and they'll come out and sit down with my client for a couple hours and talk about what should be done. I've also gone as far as having professional stagers come in on vacant property and actually stage the property. Most of the time, like we're investors, we flip property, and once I hit about $300,000, I stage my vacant property. So like, there's a time for each one, but for me, it's normally dependent on the price point. I'm not staging a trailer, not to be mean about it, but like you know, and not there's anything wrong with trailers. I'm just saying that. It's just the price. It's about the price. I'm probably not staging a townhome either, kind of thing. It's going to be about that price point. So, am I making sense? I'm not trying to sound super bougie. Okay, I know I did kind of sound super no trailers, you know.
The only thing that popped in my head is now some of these trailers and some of these townhomes.
Oh yeah. Oh no, don't get me wrong. There's $1 million townhomes now. Yeah, I got it. So yeah, but it's about the price, right? But when I say trailer, you think.
Right.
Yeah. Oh no, look, I love trailers. I'm all about it. So, but you know, you want to be able to walk your clients through and think about what makes sense to you. Again, this is what we use, but you know, it really comes down to what do you want. And so you can, a lot of brokerages have them like we do. Use that one if you don't have one. If you don't have, I mean, or go make your own. But it's going to give you that opportunity to you know, put all that together. But again, when does this have to get done? Beforehand. Exactly. Beforehand. Yeah. So we have to get all this prepared. So what's the first thing that we want to prepare? The folders, right? And again, you can say, Alan, you're so old school. I get that. But like we've sold a lot of homes this way. And so I can't say that that every single person that sells a lot of homes does this. I can say that a lot of us who do follow the same system. So you can emulate success or you can go your own way. I have new agents all the time tell me like, well, it shouldn't be that way. Well, buttercup it is, kind of thing. So so you start off by coming in prepared, get your folders together, everything you need to go on that listing appointment. You want to build some form of a listing presentation where you can go through and explain to your clients, this is how I do real estate. Y'all with me?
Yeah.
All this though has to be done in advance. And it makes it really hard. And what I mean by that is, especially if you don't have listings, it's kind of like, well, how do I get ready for something that I don't have anything for, right? And like if you're going to work listings, come prepared. It's such a big deal. The other thing that I really like to do, we have several agents that do this, are they put together some pre-listing kits. So like before they go on their appointment, we have a couple agents that put out marketing kits, has all the flyers and everything, you know, photography of the properties that they've done. Now the ones that we have do it, they use they're basically pizza boxes, but they have no writing on them. They just have a logo on the front. It's just an old pizza box kind of thing. They'll deliver that before they go on the listing appointment. We have one agent and she puts all of her marketing information on an iPad. She buys refurbished iPads and then she sends an iPad over the day before her listing appointment.
She get it back.
About half the time, well, I mean, but you know, like you can buy a refurbished iPad for a couple $100. And so about half the time they give her the iPad back. But how many listing appointments do you think she's been on that she hasn't gotten? I mean, she gave them an iPad.
Yeah.
They give her a listing back, right? And so like she's not so about half the time they give her they give her the iPad back anyway. So again, you know, that whole idea of reciprocity goes a long way.
And a refurbished company, you can get one for $100 on Groupon that actually works for a little while before it goes.
Well, it's all, I just need to work long enough.
A little while.
I mean, when you say refurbished, I mean, you paying $100. I didn't expect it to work at all. I thought it was like but I paid under $100 and it worked. It was for my 10-year-old.
Yeah.
How long did it work?
It worked. Look, that's why I'm like, it worked.
Look, 10-year-old's tough on its own.
It's unlocked right now, so it's still technically working. And she's 12 now.
Gotcha.
Yeah. All right, but you know, some folks will send over like a team bio information packet, that kind of stuff. Some folks will send over a checklist of everything they need to have ready. We got a couple of agents that do the book, you know, that write those books and like you know, how to sell your home for the most money, shortest amount of time possible. Some folks will deliver it for each other. Some folks will have it couriered over. I really love bringing a gift. I'm a gift guy. I like sending gifts with me. So I am a popcorn tin guy. Some folks will bring stress relieving items, you know, stress balls, that kind of stuff. We have one agent, she brings champagne. So like, hey, you're going to bring this to closing and we're going to pop the bottle that day. You know, now we have one agent. She's the cleaning lady. And she's exactly right. But now she's also the tough love lady. Like I got a hard time walking in and be like, bam, your house is dirty. I just, you know, I mean, when you show up with this basket, but you know, she is the tough love lady, right? And she'll tell you straight up, there's nothing I can do to sell a dirty house. A dirty house costs you money. I need this house spotless. And you got no reason not to give me this house spotless because we're going to sell this house quickly and for a lot of money, but I need it clean. And so that's her approach, right? And again, that's not really my approach. I'm not going to go there like that, but she can pull that off. And so you just go, you know, like how are you going to sell that kind of stuff? So
we use that brownies.com where you send some brownies over the day before.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, this is so nice. And of course they loved it. So it's a good item to use.
All right, so I got a couple of questions on here and it says, how much of this information do we give them at the initial appointment? We're going to go through the initial appointment in a minute. So I promise I will get to that. Let's see. I don't know what 1 and 3 means. We'll see what that is. Yeah, you can totally switch to a different device when you come back. That's not a problem. And then I had a question about how much the staging usually costs. It really depends on how big the house is and how many rooms you want staged. We're always going to stage the living room, dining room, the kitchen, breakfast area, that kind of stuff, and normally the master. We don't normally do secondary bedrooms unless there's a real reason to do it. Depending on the you know, like you rent furniture and then normally it's going to be for a 3-month period. Your stager will rent it for you. They'll put it in along with all the other knickknacks. We spend between $2,500 and $5,000 normally, somewhere in that range, depending on the square footage to have a home stage. All right. So we got stuff. Now, for those of us here, come on. Christy brought us some good stuff here today.
Yeah, she's got a giveaway, so if you have a business card, put it in the cup. Just pass it out. This is Christy Wilson with Ellsworth Insurance. She not only is going to talk to us, but she brought us some lunch too.
Then we got lunch. So sorry for the folks online. You got to go make your own sandwich here in a minute. But you know, thank you for sponsoring our class today. This is, you know, Christy's our official sponsor, so she's going to talk to us for a quick second.
And also, I'll post her information in the chat for you guys online.
Yeah, and there's also some goodies up there and all that. My name's Christy, I'm the owner of Elizabeth Insurance. And I just wanted to talk to you guys. You all know what insurance is. We do home, auto, commercial, and just about everything. We can write anything. So we write in Georgia and Alabama. But I always like to talk to the agents about, we have a home renovation policy. And it's mainly for people who are flipping a house or, flipping the house to rent it or resell it. And it covers the property while it's being repaired and while it's vacant, covers the building materials and all the liability for anyone who gets hurt on the property, any of the workers, anybody, plus if all the materials get stolen.
Wow.
We cover all of that. So, and it's a lot cheaper than a regular home policy, and most insurance will not cover a vacant house.
Yep.
So I always try to tell people, they will for a minute till they find out, and then they go out there, it's a real thing. So, but if you guys have any interest in that, that's something special that I do. I also do funeral pre-planning, which is a policy where you
Serious subject,
pay
isn't
for
it?
your,
Yeah.
you pay for your funeral in advance, over like 5 years. It's only based on your age, not your health. So I had cancer. I have one for myself because I couldn't get a traditional life insurance policy after I had cancer. So I pay like $60 a month for 5 years and my funeral's paid up. So my kids will not have to worry about it. So that's just something I've been doing because I see a need for it. But we do everything, and there's some brochures up there. We'll do your yacht, all your
Oh, yeah, we all have
houses,
yachts. That's
lake
good.
houses,
Yeah, thanks.
all that. So if any of your clients
I want to
have,
start with a boat. How about that?
I know, maybe a small boat, but
Yeah.
we have over 50 major carriers like Travelers, Allstate. So I can just shop with all those carriers for your clients, and I can find something, from really, really high end to if they have claims. I have people that cover claims and it's very affordable. So my info is on here, and I will draw to give you guys. Oh, I have a charcuterie board for Valentine's Day, a heart one, and
Look
a
at that.
Kroger gift card to buy some stuff.
Oh, you do the bad guy? Okay. All right. Put it together here. All right, let's see. Jordan, there you go.
Awesome, thank you. I hope you guys enjoy lunch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Remember me, Jordan. All right, we're gonna take a break. And it is, what are we now? We are 11:02. So at 11:15, we're gonna jump back in here, kind of thing. So 11:15, we're gonna take a break until 11:15.
No, you're fine. I wasn't using it. I thought that was yours. Map together, a heat map together, who's gonna cover where.
All right,
And then
let's
we
get
can all
going
work
here.
together.
Get back in.
Okay, we're back in it, y'all.
We're back in.
We're back in it,
Yeah,
people
here we go.
online.
All right, so yeah, for our online folks, we are back at it.
They
So,
are missing out, aren't they?
So folks online asked, where are the handouts that we've been doing? It's all on that stuff online. Yeah, you should be able to find it at maximumpartners.com/resources/CE class on there. So I want to talk to you about comps. First of all, don't do as I do, do as I say. And what I mean by that is, don't call them comps. Clients don't understand comps. That's a term that we use. So when I'm dealing with a client, what is it?
Comparative market.
Comparative market analysis, comparable sales and listings. We have to make sure that we are explaining. Sometimes our industry jargon throws people off. Now, I'm saying all that, and then I'm going to turn right around and use jargon. So I just want to be clear about that don't do as I do, right? Now, when it comes to pulling your comparables, please do the work. Like, y'all remember when Zillow tried buying houses? And they did that by using an algorithm, and they were buying houses off of Zestimate, right? And when it comes to real estate data, it's harder to be bigger than Zillow. When it comes to real estate data, Zillow is king. And Zillow couldn't do it. There's not enough data points out there. Zillow does really good when a property matches up with everything else around it. But you get outside a neighborhood, they have no idea what the value should be. And most of your online evaluation tools are between 5 and 10% off, which on a $300,000 house can be a $30,000 swing either way, $60,000 total swing. So please, like one of the big concerns I have is that we could actually like this is one of the things that, I mean, what are the three things that our sellers want? Price, timing, marketing. This is the big one. So don't phone this in. Don't use, I mean, make sure that you pull your own comparables. Now, after class today, we're going to do a CMA, but what I just want to be really clear that don't like, especially like cloud CMA. It is so easy to do a terrible job on cloud CMA. I can go into cloud CMA, put in an address, hit down and dirty, and it'll just spit it out. It ain't gonna be any better or worse than its estimate. And is that really what you want to base? Well, I mean, one of the three most important things for your sellers. So make sure that you pull your comps. Okay, vitally important. All right. At your appointment, come prepared. Practice your presentations beforehand. Practice it on the kids, on the wife, on the dog, in a mirror. I don't care. But you have to make sure that you are comfortable being able to talk about these things. Bring your CMA, you know, and your seller's presentation with you. So when I come, I've got my CMA, I've got my seller's presentation, and I have my folder when I arrive. Now, just briefly about the CMA. Sometimes you pull a CMA and all you have is an address. And you get there and the house, nasty. Your comps don't work. And sometimes you get there and it's the Taj Mahal you just walked into and it doesn't match up. That's just going to be the nature of the beast. All right. And so you just got to kind of roll with the punches if that's the case. You're taking certain things on assumption there. When you go on the listing appointment, be 100% honest. Sounds easy, right? Is it easy to be honest?
It's hard sometimes.
No, it's not. Look, I'm telling you right now, take it from the old guy, right? Being honest is difficult. And let me explain what I mean. I don't mean about just basically being honest, but do you care enough to have difficult conversations? And so like we walk into this, we go on a listing appointment and the sweetest little old lady I've ever met in my life meets us at the door. She opens the door and there's doilies everywhere that she has handmade. The house is spotlessly clean. You walk in the door and it's like someone smacked you in the face with a litter box. And so like your eyes start watering and here's this sweet as pie little lady. And like you're trying to gasp for breath at this point. It's tough. And you find out that her husband passed away several years ago and it's time for her to sell and she wants to move in and it's time to move on. And so do you say it? Do you say, ma'am, your house smells like cat pee? Now, I mean, you don't say it that way, but like you know, and so, ma'am, I can tell you have cats. What? I mean, she's lived in this house alone for years with just her and her cat. She doesn't smell it. Like my eyes are watering, right? But like I promise you, that's a difficult conversation to have. Any pets is a difficult conversation. I've had sellers come to me and say, my pitties wouldn't hurt a fly. We have never crated them. I can't crate them. Then, man, we can't list your home. There's no way. 2 pit bulls come running up to the door when somebody opens the door. As soon as we're done cleaning up the mess where they pee on your floor, then we're not going to be able to list this out. And so you have to be honest. Like, I mean, like there are so many conversations where you have to care enough and where you have to be honest, right? You walk in and the house is nasty. I walked into houses and didn't want to sit down. And is that a fun conversation to have? I walked in with a single mom, 4 kids. House looked like a train wreck. Is that a fun conversation to have? But if you don't care enough to be honest, will it hurt them?
Yeah.
And so that's what I mean by you have to be honest, because it runs the full gamut. No, we have to get the 17 deer heads off the wall. You know, like, no, your son has to leave the house for showings and he has to stop smoking pot in the basement. Right? I mean, like these are real conversations that we've had with sellers, right? No, we have to get this clean. No, this has to get done. Like, you have to care enough. And it's not a fun conversation. It's never a pleasant conversation. But if you're going to be a great listing agent, then you have to become prepared to have difficult conversations.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I was on the buying side one time and I had some buyers and we went to this really nice listing, probably like $500,000. And we get all the way in the back and my buyers are like, oh, look at those tomato plants. Those were not tomato plants. They had a marijuana.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Look, anymore? We've been on several showings and there's like a row of bongs. Like, I didn't know you needed that many kind of thing. I don't know if you guys have like a bong party. So, yeah, I mean, but like these are all conversations that would it be easier for me not to have it? Yeah. But if I don't have that conversation, will it cost my sellers money? So, and the other thing is so let's say that I just held my nose and listed that property that smells like cat pee. But now I have to cut the price, right? So at that point, either we address it or we have to lower the price. That's all we got. I'd much rather address it and to help them get, capture as much revenue as you can. Sometimes though, that's, like in the instance where I had a single mom, she's like, I can't clean. I can't, I'm hanging on by my fingernails and they're all broken. Whatever we get is whatever we get. And at that point, it was pricing it to move based on the condition that it is. But that was her decision. That wasn't my decision. But I let her know that this will cost you money.
So you wouldn't offer some cleaning services for them?
Yeah.
Well, but in her situation, she had to sell. She couldn't afford where she was. She was going to move back in with family. She had no money to bring. And I love you, but I ain't cleaning your house for you, kind of thing. So I don't want to be mean. I mean, there are some agents who will do that. I get that. That's not Al's wheelhouse kind of thing. And so I just
Kids, you gotta clean every day.
well, she's working 2 jobs and has 4 kids, and they're left unattended a lot. So it was what it was, and so in that instance, that was what needed to be happened. But again, like you guys already know just from going into houses and seeing what's going on, what the issues are. Like if you walk in and there's a cat, we're going to need to have the cat put away or taken away for showings because a lot of people are allergic. Do you care to have that conversation? You may not want to, but you're going to have to, right? Because if you don't, it's not going to affect value. All of a sudden you start getting feedback. It talks about the cat got out the door and all these kind of things, right? So
I have a question.
Yeah.
What do you do if you're helping someone list their house and they're like, man, my neighbor throwing beer bottles all in his yard and it's getting into my yard? How would you approach that situation as far as they wanted to sell, but they just couldn't help with their neighbor?
well, we have had instances like that where the neighbor is acting up, like downtown Atlanta. We sold, we flipped houses, and right next door is a entrepreneur, that kind of thing. And at that point, what we started doing was like, okay, we're gonna have our landscaper clean their yard too, and we're gonna do is that something I want to do long term? No. Does that make sense? Because to help the values right now?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
I was thinking, and we put it in the special stipulations or in the agent notes or something when you can't move something, because I know I went onto a property and they had like 20 huskies in cages on one side. And so, but I finally was able to convince my client, like, okay, they're caged up, like, all right, at least we can go in the house. We walked down, they got like 30 more and more cages down. And I know you can't move all that during the showing, but
you're not gonna get rid of a puppy mill. Yeah, that's right.
Then I could have.
Well, but I mean, sometimes it is what it is. I mean, there are instances where you just have to disclose. Sometimes we've sold property that had deaths in it and that kind of stuff. And sometimes all you can do is lower the price, and you just need to disclose what you know about it, that kind of thing. When you go on the appointment, don't be late. All right, dress professionally, no strong smell. Look, if you smoke, popping a mint on the way up the door is not going to work. Okay, you're going to make sure. And guys, none of this X thing on the way either. Don't speak ill of your competition. Especially if you're going into if you point one finger at somebody else, you're pointing 3 back at you. It makes people wonder about what do you say about them when they're not with you too. So practice your presentation, practice in advance. When you walk in the door, tell them where you're going to sit. I know that sounds petty, but it's one of those things where who needs to take charge when you walk in the door?
You do.
You do. And like, especially for me, like, y'all, I'm not a little man, right? And they always want to set me on that overstuffed couch in the middle of the living room. And I'm sitting there like this. This is just not a good power position for me, right? So when I walk in the door, I'm like, hey, I'm a kitchen table guy. I'm like, I'm like, hey, can we sit at the table, or can we go ahead and tour the house? Can you show me around, that kind of stuff? But you need to take charge when you walk in on an appointment. It's important because they're looking for you to be the expert. And if you walk in the door and stop and freeze like a deer in the headlights, they're going to be like, this person doesn't know what they're doing. So like, you need to start off right from the very beginning on there. You do want to walk the property with the clients. Sometimes your clients will be like, let's sit down. And sometimes they'll be like, show me around. I don't see a difference in whether or not it's a personal preference, as far as I'm concerned, on whether we're going to walk the property first and then sit down, or sit down and then walk the property. I'm going to do both either way. And and we've done it both ways, and don't really see a big difference on there. When you do walk the property, that's a chance to bond with your sellers. Identify them, any kind of areas, have them tell stories, things like that. It's a really good time to do that. You have to be in control of the presentation. Like when you're done with you're done walking through the property, what do? Let's go sit down at the table. Or when you're done going through this, like, show me around. Like, don't allow large, awkward silences. Like, if there's awkward silence, then they're starting to question if you know what you're doing. Use any kind of numbers or testimonials that stand out good for you in your presentation. That's always good to do. Tell stories. Everybody loves stories. And it's an easy way. It can show empathy. It's a great way to get points across. Oh, I've had a client that did this, or there's a house over here that had this, and that kind of stuff. People like stories. It goes really, really good. You are going to have to talk about upgrades, and should they do it? What kind of return on investment is it? A lot of times your clients, like sometimes you'll go on a listing appointment and they may not be ready to list for months. They may have a set of work that they want to do, and there's like, what do I need to do to prepare my home for sale? In those instances, we'll go through. We have a staging checklist that we go through with them that you can do, but basically it's just going around saying, yeah, you want to paint through here. No, I think the flooring is totally fine. Oh, okay, yeah, that definitely needs to get repaired. Those kind of things. That's what they're looking for. Don't forget to follow up with them though. It's important that we stay following up on there. Always ask them what they expect. Because we've got some really crazy answers. Like, I was hoping we could sell really fast, like in the next week. Like, we're going to have to go with an iBuyer because no one else is going to close that fast, right? But like, if you don't ask, then you can't meet their expectations on there. In here, they're always going to have concerns about property condition. Like what's the least I have to do? And where that comes back to is, what is your goals? Like we have to come back and say, what are your goals? You want as much as possible? If you want as much as possible, then we have to be in the best condition, right? Now, if you're looking for somewhere in between there, then let's at that point we move over into walking about the property. On all here, you are going to have to discuss your seller's fear of disclosing material facts about the property. All right. Now, on all of our like when they come to do the seller's disclosure, statistically 70% of your sellers will lie on it, which is really sad, but it's true, right? A lot of sellers have a lot of concerns about a seller's disclosure. Now, in the state of Georgia, are sellers required to fill out a seller's disclosure form?
Yes.
No. No, they are required to disclose any hidden latent defects. They're not required to fill out any form. They are required to disclose any hidden latent defects. So if there's a giant hole in the roof when you walk up, are they required to disclose that? No. No, it's right there. I can see it. Exposed wiring in the wall that they know about, a septic tank that doesn't work, foundation that leaks, those kind of things. they're required to disclose. Now, is disclosure better or worse for your clients, for your sellers?
It's always better.
It's better.
Always better. Look, protections come in disclosing what you know about the property. A lot of times they're worried that it's going to hurt their value, and it could hurt their value. There's no doubt, depending on what it is. But like we had a case several years back up in Marietta where we had a seller that their parents, the wife's parents came in and they finished the basement for him. But it was by her dad. It was very shade tree. There's nothing done. I mean, there was nothing permitted, nothing like that. But when they sold the house, they disclosed it. Look, my dad did all the work. You know, nothing was done professionally. You know, it's all finished, and this, you know, everything was fully disclosed what he did and what they did to the property. Those folks, after only living there 4 months, got transferred, had to turn around and sell it. They turned around and sold it as is, no disclosure. New family moves in, 2 little girls die in a fire in the basement from faulty wiring, from improper wiring. Who got sued? Did the folks who actually did the faulty wiring get sued?
No.
No, the folks that didn't disclose got sued. Because were they told, this is what we know about the property from the previous owners?
They were.
Yes, they were. Did they disclose the hidden latent defects that they knew about the property?
They did not.
No. So on one hand, it's like they didn't do anything wrong. They didn't do the wiring wrong. They got their rear end sued off because they didn't disclose what they knew about the property. And for our sellers, and the reason why I bring a seller's disclosure form with me in my packet, like, first of all, hey, let's go back to license law. Anything handwritten supersedes what? Anything typed, right? Anything handwritten supersedes anything typed. And because a lot of things on your seller's disclosure form, is it always yes or no? Has this property ever flooded? I've only lived here 5 years. House is 15 years old. No, it's never flooded. But how do you check that? No. Well, I have them fill out that seller's disclosure while I'm there. Do not fill out the seller's disclosure for your sellers, ever, okay? But we go through it, and if they say, they check no, it's never played. I've only lived here 5 years, and I've never done it. Even when we have investors, we'll say, just say anything that you know about the property. This has been an investment property, never lived here, it's never done that while I owned it. You clearly stated what you know about the property, and that's where the protections come from, right? But if you just go in and sell things as is, no disclosure, we have several rehab companies like that kind of stuff that keeps getting their butt sued off because they sell everything as is, no disclosure, and come to find out they knew stuff about it beforehand, kind of thing. And so for your sellers who want to sell as is, no disclosure, they are opening themselves up for more liability than if they actually state what they know about the property. Because if they sell it as is, no disclosure, and all of a sudden the septic system backs up, and then you get some septic guy who's like, man, this has been a problem for a long time. Are they open for liability at that point?
Oh,
Yep, because that's something where they did not disclose.
It wouldn't come back on us at all.
Well, no, but sometimes we'll have that seller like, the basement leaks, but we're not gonna say nothing. Now, whose butt's on the line? Now they got you by the short hairs, right? Exactly. Yeah.
I had a seller, and this was a year or so ago, and it wasn't nothing big, but just kind of where he had hooked up downstairs, they had brand new flooring they put down, and where he hooked up the back of the washer where it drained the water, it came unhooked and just ruined all their floors. Well, when he was filling out the seller's book, he's like, well, technically he's never flooded. I said, well, you pulled up all these floors, and this has happened before. There might be water behind the walls as well that you don't know about. I was like, you need to put that in there, even if it's just like the washer flooding in there. At least they know.
Yeah, say listen, the washer flooded, be fixed. Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's really what you want to come across. I just feel like it's such a responsibility that we let our clients know, look, we have to disclose any hidden latent defects, because if you don't tell me, and if you don't disclose, that doesn't mean you're not going to get sued. Now, I'm not going to do the one suing, but I'm trying to protect you. And so state what you know about the property on there. It's really, really important that we do that. Now, a lot of them are going to have a lot of concerns about, will this affect my value? And will it affect their value? Yes, it can. depending on what it is, especially if it's something they haven't addressed. It can affect their values for them. You know, you also want to take time and then ask questions. And then make sure that you go through your seller's presentation. So like this is the whole thing where you're gonna sit down, you're gonna go through your seller's presentation, you're gonna pull your folder out, you're gonna go through all those kind of things, you're gonna do the tour of the tour of the house. Also make sure you go inside and outside when you walk around the house. Don't just walk through the main living level, go into the basement, not crawl spaces or anything creepy, right? But you do need to walk all the way around the property. So, you know, make sure that you go all the way around it on that kind of thing.
Yeah, I can't stress enough the practicing the presentation. If you're reading your presentation, any part of it, then they know that you're not comfortable with it. You don't look like you have control. You don't look very confident. You use the presentation to remind you where your talking points are.
It's your placeholder.
It's kind of a prompt.
Bullet points more than anything.
But the more comfortable you are with it, and we practice agent to agent, your family's gonna get tired of you practicing with it. I promise you they are. But the more you practice it, the better you're gonna be and the more comfortable you're gonna be. And then they realize, hey, you know, this isn't their first rodeo, even if they're 25 years old, right? It's not your first rodeo, you know what you're doing. So please take the time to do that in advance.
Very good. All right, now it's time to go over comps. So at this point, I've done my presentation, I pulled my folder out, and now I'm gonna go over my comparable sales and listings. And so now's when you take your comps out and you want to, you know, show it to them, and always start and say, you know, I always start my comparable conversation with a map and say, this is where all these properties are. Because I can pull a property 5 miles away and get any value I want, but it's going to matter about what's close around here. What's the proximity matters on here. And so this is where we pulled all these comparables from. In the United States, we value property by comparison. I can buy the house down the street. Is listed for $325. This one sold for $327. Same floor plan as yours. This one sold for $355, but it's got a basement, right? And so we buy and sell property based on comparison. And these are the comparables that we're going to have to compete against. And so you go through and pull them out. Show the comparables. Say, look, your home is 2,200 square foot. This one's 2,200 square foot. The pictures make it appear to be in very similar condition to yours. I mean, what do you think? Is it better, worse, that kind of stuff? This is the whole process of going through the comparables with your client. It takes the monkey off your back. That's the thing, is that if you don't do comps, you end up into I said so place. And that's a very uncomfortable place to be, because your seller may say, I really wanted to sell for 4.25, and you don't have any comps over 400,000, right? 400 is the absolute highest comp that you have, and you got a seller wants to list for 425. Now, if you don't share your comps, then they're like, I'd like to list at 425, and you're like, you know, I think 400 is better. Well, yeah, but 425 is really where we really feel, you know, my wife and I, we talked, we prayed about it. This is where we need to be, is 425. And you're like, but I say, you know, like, trust me, it's 400 is the most it's going to get. How do you think that conversation goes?
Well, I prayed for it. So at this point, I won't for it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're going to get there, but what I'm saying is that now, how about when I go through and I show them that not a single house in this neighborhood has sold for over 400,000.
You're educated.
Right now, that's when you end up with sellers who go, okay, we're gonna have a really hard time getting to 425. I don't see a buyer willing to spend that for it. I mean, what's a reason why a buyer would come here and spend 425 as opposed to going to this other home right down the street at 400? Like this, you know, the market is what the market is, and your comps will do the dirty work. Let the comps be the deciding factor. I would much rather sell for 425 if we can sell it, right? And so it doesn't, I'm not trying to down you. I'm not trying to keep you underground, that kind of stuff. So, but let your numbers speak for themselves. Let the comps do the work for you. I'm telling you, it makes the rest of your life very, very easy to say, look, based on all the comparable listings as well as the sales, I feel that we need to have a list price somewhere between, you know, $390 and $405. And then, you know, we're probably going to sell right at that $395,000. That's where I'd list this property. You're going to put it out there, but now you have everything backing up your decision. I mean, backing up your recommendation. Yes, sir.
What would you say if the seller's like, let's just put it what I want for a week and then we can change it to yours?
I will, and that's something that I've done and I will do. I won't list overpriced property that doesn't have a plan to get it where I need it to be.
Right.
I've got 2 weeks to get a full price offer on a property. All right. And so I need you to be in the range of reasonable within 2 weeks. And so if we don't have 10 showings and an offer within the first week, then we have to reduce it to this price. About the second week, we have to get to here. Yes, ma'am.
Are you able to put that in writing and have them sign off on it?
You can.
That's something I used to
Yeah,
do up
yeah.
there, because they will always, without fail, you come, you know, to that week point, okay, we've got it your way for a week, now we need to reduce price. It's like, no, you sign it. We're doing it.
Yeah, you can absolutely go ahead and have them decide that up front kind of thing. I tend to kind of play it by ear a little bit, just because, you know, like I used to be really hard and fast about it, and then I got proved wrong. You know, we had a lady, and she's like, you know, I want 375. I'm like, nothing here has ever sold over 320. 325 is high here. She's like, I want 375. I'm like, okay, if after the first week we don't have any showings and offers, then we need to be at 350. By the second week, we need to be at 340, and then we need to be at 335, kind of right where I need us to be. But we have to have a plan for getting there. And she goes, I'm telling you, we're going to sell at 375. And 2 days later, I had a full price cash offer. Oh, well, it was a New York buyer that was moving in, and her sister lived 2 houses down in the same neighborhood. She didn't care what she's doing. She wanted to live next to her sister. So I've been proved wrong, right? And so I will do it with a plan. What I see happens more often is we will take an overpriced listing just because I just want to sign the yard. I just want a listing. And I promise you, it will be the bane of your existence. Because as soon as you take an overpriced listing, there, you know, immediately the seller's like, why haven't you sold my house yet? Mm-hmm. But you didn't have the guts to say it's overpriced. You just wanted a listing. And now they're like, are you going to do an open house? And you're like, nothing better than doing an open house and an overpriced listing that nobody comes to. That's great. And then, you know, like all the comments come in overpriced, and they're like, why did all the comments say overpriced? You said we were at a good price. Like at this point, you're really having to back up now. So let's talk about pricing considerations in here. So your big factor is time. Time costs you money. The longer it sits there, the more we're going to have to reduce it. We've already looked at the data and how that really goes into play. So when it comes to really talking about price with your clients, I always go with, it's always going to start with your CMA, with the comparable market analysis. We buy and sell property based on the other comparables. But you have another factor, speed of sale. I'm getting transferred next week and my family's going to be here alone. We have to sell quickly. Is that going to affect the list price?
Oh, yes.
Yes. Yeah. Or I don't care if we sell or not.
Yeah.
It could take a year. It's fine with me, but I'm not. So you see what I mean? As far as like oh, yeah. Speed can cost you on there. So that now. Now, you may say, what is bad? Best alternative to a negotiated agreement. What happens if we don't sell your home? And you don't want to put this out in a manipulative way, but I need to know what happens if you can't sell. What happens if we're not successful in selling? Okay, we'll just keep on buying. I mean, we'll just stay right here where we're at. Well, you know, that may not be an option. We're getting divorced, you know, and so like, what's your best alternative? I need to know that when we're starting to talk about price. That makes sense? You know, what about the market that we're in? You know, like the longer you stay here, the more buyers and seller markets that we're going to have. Yeah, we're still in a seller's market right now. We're shifting more towards a more balanced market right now. But depending on that market, and that being said, the market's not the same across the state. You know, there's parts of Macon that it's a buyer's market. There's some parts of Griffin and some other places where it's a buyer's market, depending on what it is. you know, are we gonna be, you know, like, you have to talk about the other fees. Like, are we offering closing costs? Depending on the price point, a lot of the buyers are gonna need that. And so that needs to be, that needs to be into the conversation about pricing. Are you gonna offer a home warranty? I'm a big home warranty fan. For me, I want my sellers to offer a home warranty. I feel like it helps the seller to come across as they're standing up for their product. They stand up for their home. And it also, it's a very easy counter negotiation point for me to say, seller's not going to do this. They're offering you a home warranty. So,
do you let the seller choose what home warranty they're going to offer, or you just say however much money?
Yeah, I say whichever much money, that kind of thing. All right. Also, pay attention to your seasonal trends, like, you know, listing it the week before Christmas. Wait till the first of the year. No one's, you know, you know, that kind of stuff. Can you also solicit iBuyer offers? Yes. Yeah, I can take that same listing and submit it to OfferPad, Open Door, and see how much they're willing to pay my seller for their home. And if they choose to go with an iBuyer, I'll still get 1%, but maybe that's the right choice for my seller. We had friends of ours that was getting divorced, and if they didn't sell right away, somebody was going to die. And so maybe iBuyer is the right choice. But if you are the one that submits that over, you can still get a commission out of that. Now, I'm a big fan of the pricing pyramid. And this is a great visual. It's in our listing presentation as well, because I find that you know, a lot of folks are visual and they kind of understand. And so look, if we price your property at market value, we're going to reach about 60% of the buyers out there. And if we try and go, you know, 10 to 15% higher than average market value, we're only going to get about 10 to 30% of our buyers. However, if we go at 10% less, we're going to move up to 75% of all the buyers. And so, you know, my general recommendation is I like to be right at market value. Is really where I like to be. I find that to be, in most cases, market value is where we want to be. And you can use just this visual and really explain that out. This is what you use to tie together with your comparables. So like, if you say, well, it was really helpful for 425, well, then we're only going to get about 30% of the buyers. And are we prepared to wait for that? Because the longer that we wait, well, then we're going to have to do price reductions. And then we're probably going to have to start giving more on closing costs. And we may have to do additional repairs. And are you prepared for that? Because, you know, we're going to be dealing with you know, a substantially smaller half the buyer pool that we would if we came in at a realistic price. And so the challenge with all of these is not sounding and not coming across as you having commission breath, right? Because your sellers at this point, this is, you know, like they don't know that you're on their side. They want to know, and it's hard, right? Especially if they want 425 and you don't have any comps that support 425. You know, we're not, even if someone agrees to it, it's not going to pass appraisal, right? But you have to spend some time talking about it. The big challenge I find for so many agents is because they're not comfortable with this conversation, they don't have it. Like this is a necessary skill set to be able to have, like when we talk about difficult conversations, is there a trickier conversation to be had? Normally. No, if you're talking about people's money. They care a lot about their money. And so the whole goal here is I want to sell your home for as much as possible. But I also don't want your house to sit on the market, because the longer it sits, the more we're going to have to reduce the price, the more concessions that we're going to have to give. And so I'm looking for that happy balance where we can sell it quickly for the most money possible in the shortest amount of time frame. That's where the real rub comes. Y'all with me? But this is one that, this is one that you need to role play. If you're a new agent, you know, Mark brought it up earlier, like, yes, you need to role play the listing presentation, but you need to role play handling the pricing objections. Like, that's probably one of the biggest ones that you have to have a very viable skill set in. And understand, it's not about beating the sellers down. It's not about winning over the sellers. You have to show that I'm on your side. It's important that that comes across, and not that I'm just trying to get a quick sale, right? So the other thing is also make sure you pay attention to our big pricing breaks, our pricing benchmarks. Your major benchmarks are at the $50,000 range. Your minor benchmarks are at 25. Like when people shop, like we're going to buy up to what? 300,000, right? So you list at 301. How many less buyers do you have now? Like 299 or 300 is gonna get you a lot more buyers than 301 will. You know, 324.9 is going to be better than 325. That kind of thing. It breaks on 25s and 50s. So just be conscious of that. Depending on where your comps fall in, that kind of stuff, it can have an impact there. Do you have any questions about the pricing thing? Because I know that that's one that kind of throws some people off sometimes. Are you guys prepared to have that conversation?
Okay. One of the other things we found, guys, about pricing just below the market value is it creates a buying frenzy because people, their agent is going to pull comps too. And if their agent sees it's at 325 and you have it listed at 319, they're going to tell their buyer, hey, this is underpriced. You're already walking in with $6,000 equity. Let's hurry up and go get an offer on that and be the first one in, and maybe we'll get the property. We also don't show the house until the open house. So you have a ton of people in there at one time. And the buyers are like worried about FOMO, fear of missing out. They're like, oh, there's 7 people in here looking at this house. And I heard that lady saying that she's got pre-approval and da-da-da-da. Let's do it right now. So you want to create, and you tell your seller that, and you want to create that energy that makes the people want to buy your house. So and when you explain all of that to your seller, they're on board with it because they're seeing this, and you're telling them about situations where it does work exactly like that.
Some people like to be slightly under. I'm one that likes to be right at where I think value is. So it's a personal thing on that one, Kevin. Yep.
So I would guess like the most important time to show them this, you know, this diagram would be when just kind of talking about the time frame, right? And then they'd be like, okay, well, I'm here for a while. And they'd be like, okay, then we could, you know, market value. Feel like, hey, I gotta go like 2 weeks from now. Then you might say, hey, the bottom is 90%,
right? But if someone is like if they're saying, look, I don't care if I sell in the next year, I'm probably not the right listing agent for you, to be honest with you. And like, I'm one that will say that. There's a lot who will say, okay, we'll just stick it out there. I just don't want you to hold me accountable. They always hold you accountable. So I'm just being straight up. And so, you know, Linda just asked a question. She said, what if they said, I just want to test the market? Well, in those instances, I'd still show them the comps. And then I'd want to have a plan for getting them where it needs to be. I promise you, if you take an overpriced listing, they will hold that over you. I mean, you will be like just on the spit, just getting roasted the whole time. You get any showings this week? Why don't we get any showings this week? You know, I don't like the pictures that you have out there. Can I get a better word description on there? What websites are you putting this out? Are you sending this out in an email blast? They start grilling you, blaming you for the house being overpriced. Yep.
I had a seller one time, he had called me and said, like, Walter, we had, at this point, we hadn't actually signed anything. You know, I just talked with him. He's like, I think I can get a 20,000 more than what you were saying. And I was like, okay, well, what would you do to add value? He told me he pressure washed the house. I was like, well,
that's a really expensive pressure wash. Yeah. So, all right. Now, as soon as you get done with the conversation about price, you need to jump right back into 2 more challenging conversations. And maybe not nearly as challenging. It depends on your approach and how you take it. But you have to talk about commissions, right? Don't let them jump into commissions before, without you, right? Hey, let's talk about commissions. Look, we're going to talk about commissions in just a minute. Or you can jump into that conversation if you want to. I don't like for them to bring up commissions. I like for me to bring up commissions because now I'm in control, I'm in charge. Now, where you're going to have a hard time with commissions is if you haven't shown value in advance. You have to say, this is what I'm gonna do. And so if you've shown up and you've got your folder and you pulling all these things out and you go through a formal listing presentation and you show all the comps and that kind of stuff, are you providing value for them at that point? Now, these are the services I provide. These are the fees I charge. That's what you need to come across is these are the services I provide. This is what I charge for these services. I don't work for free, and this is how it works, right? And so, you know, some folks will have a varying script. Like I do this for 7%, I do this for 6%, I do this for 5%. I'm not that kind of guy. I have a hard time discounting what I do. Like this is what I provide. This is what I charge. If I'm not the right person for you, I don't have hard feelings about it. But this is what I'm not going to do a slack job for you, or I'm not going to do less than I could just because, you know, we're trying to base it on something else. That's not how I operate. Yeah.
What would you do if they said, "Well, I had a realtor come to me last week and he was only going to do 5%." You know, so why would I use you then? And if I can use that realtor for 5%?
Well, you saw everything that I'm going to do right here. You know, the other thing is if they're willing to discount their services, how quickly are they going to be willing to discount your purchase price? I mean, your sale price. I mean, they're discounting what they do even before they have a listing. And you think that they're going to stand up for your sale price? So,
I like that.
Yeah, that's true, right? Like you're going to discount on the front end. I mean, they're like you can't stand up for your own commission. Pretty sure you're not going to stand up for their purchase price, right? So also we have some agents that don't do a whole percentage. Like, can you do 2.95?
There's no set commission.
No, well, there is no set commission, exactly, right? And so can you do 4.3? You know, that kind of stuff. But, you know, we have several agents that do 2.9, 2.95. One does 2.95 with a $400 transaction fee. Normally more than what 3% would be. You can charge transaction fees, that kind of stuff. The bottom line here is stand up for yourself. Like we're professionals and we work hard for what we do. When you provide a lot of value, that you know, like this is what I do. This, you know, these are the services I provide. These are the fees I charge. Stand up for what you do. We work really, really hard at what we do, and we need to be proud of that. Stand for ourselves. Now, not only do we have to discuss these are the fees I charge, what else do we have to discuss? Okay.
The split co-op.
But this, no, my button didn't work. I was doing that for like emphasis, right? So we have to discuss the co-op commission now, especially in light of the lawsuits. What happened with Sitzer Burnett and that kind of stuff. And so this year, the GAR form got split up a little bit on the exclusive seller listing agreement. And so on here, the top part said this is the total commission to be sold, to be offered, right? So this is the commission. Seller agrees to pay the broker the following commission at closing. That's still the total amount. Down here, section B says seller directs the seller's broker to either pay or not pay a cooperating broker. Nothing herein shall obligate seller to direct broker to pay any portion of its commission to a cooperating broker. In such event, the buyer shall be responsible for paying the cooperating broker's commission. If seller's broker is paying a cooperating broker a portion of its commission, it shall be in the amount set forth below. Almost looks like we're totally fine not having a co-op commission, right? Mr. Seller, do you need to offer you know, I mean, do they have to, does your seller have to offer a co-op commission?
No, they do not.
They do not. And by the way, they've never had to, not in Georgia.
That's the same, right? Right.
Now, in the whole, where all this lawsuit came from, back in Missouri, guess what you had to have in Missouri?
Co-op commission.
You were, sellers were forced to pay a co-op commission, which is why they lost. Because you can't, and now in Georgia, we follow RESPA, and that's never been the law of the land. We've been able to offer zero commission this whole time. See, but the way this form looks, it all, my personal fan, and granted, this is my own opinion, but it almost looks like we're encouraging them. I know some of it is a knee-jerk reaction from the lawsuit, but it's like, look, you don't have to pay, no big deal. But is that best for your client?
No.
Right, so because we have to do, so like what happens, I mean, and what are you going to say if a seller says, we don't want to offer a co-op commission.
Then
Well-
they're buying.
But I mean, we can do that. Is that in their best interest? Will that help them sell their house? Will it help them reach their goals? I mean, I get it because, like, I just soon not spend any money I don't have to either. But does it make sense for them to spend that money?
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, but then you have to be ready to have that conversation. This is the new conversation that so many agents are finding really awkward because we haven't been practicing this one very long. This is the new challenge for listing agents at the moment. So the seller's not obligated to pay a co-op commission, but we have to be honest about the impact that's going to have if they don't do so. Y'all with me? So we got to make sure that, you know, first of all, agent representation is essential on both sides of the transaction. It's essential for the buyers as well as for the sellers, right? And so first thing is, if we don't offer a buyer's agent commission, the number of showings, the number of buyers looking at our property will be less. Bottom line. Buyer's agents are not going to promote the house because they don't know if the seller values them. I mean, do you think the seller values you? If you don't offer it? Nope. Most buyers don't have cash to bring to closing for their agent's commission. They need to finance that commission into the purchase price. By the way, the exact same way as you did, Mr. Seller, when you bought this home. Like that commission was probably wrapped up in there. That's what the buyers need to do in here. So many buyers won't consider your property because they can't afford the upfront. When you bought your home, you most likely wrap the commissions in the purchase price, which is what our buyers need to do as well. VA buyers are not allowed to pay a commission. So no veteran buyers will even be considering your property because they're not allowed to pay the agent.
Big chunk too.
Yeah. Well, especially in your market.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And also, does it appear that the seller is trying to force the buyer to purchase a home without representation? And do we think that that's wise?
No.
No, I think representation on both sides is essential. And then we also have a lot of buyers who are now like, well, if you're going to cut the commission, where else have you cut on? What else is going on? I mean, is there other shady stuff going on? Now, the trick here is I'm not trying to sound manipulative. But like, and so the point is it can come across as being manipulative, but I need you to know the consequences of not doing that. Like if we don't do this, it's gonna hurt you. Right? Our buyers need to be able to wrap this up in here. And so maybe that's a pricing consideration that we make. All right, we are going to do this, but now this is what, you know, we're going to try for this price here kind of thing. We have to be ready for that conversation. Like the commissions are wrapped up in it the same way as when they bought that home. It's the exact same thing the buyers are trying to do today. The buyers are also, they're agreeing to this, but when, I mean, y'all remember on Monday when we talked about the buyer's agreement, right? And so now we have the ability to negotiate on the behalf of who as buyer's agents. The benefit of the buyer. We can negotiate on that because our buyers don't have the money to bring to closing up front. They just don't. And we have to be clear about that conversation with our sellers and that it will hurt them. My concern is the GAR forms. I mean, I know they're there to protect us, but I mean, seriously, it doesn't look like we're almost encouraging them not to pay a co-op commission. I feel it does. Yeah. Especially, you know, when you look at the old verbiage to the new verbiage. And I understand. You know, we want to make sure that you know, like their big job is protecting everybody. I get that. But seriously, be very, very cautious about this. You know, you can see examples of a world without buyer agent co-op. Like my mom lives in Australia. They don't have buyer's agents. So guess what the listing agents do? Everything. Well, there are no buyer's agents. So there's also no MLS.
It's real.
Oh yeah, my mom lives in Australia. Yeah, when we go over, I look at property so I can write it off in Texas. And yeah, like this brokerage may have these 20 listings, but if there's a house down the street and they don't list it, they won't show it to you. I have to call that listing agent. And if I want to go see this one, I have to call that listing agent. Oh, yeah,
Do you own properties now? Well, in Australia,
she does. I don't know. We just visit.
is it, I guess, is it much different as far as like,
Well, there they use attorneys to draw up the contracts, and then they have settlement agents who do it. The funny thing is their fees end up very similar to ours at the end of the day. However, buyers get no representation.
whether now people are starting to go
Yeah.
back to more properties in these foreign countries?
I can't speak to every country. I just know because my mom lives there. Yes, ma'am.
You can write off the travel and taxes. You look at houses, is that what you're saying?
Well, real estate's my business. If I go look at real estate when I'm over there, as long as I'm looking for real estate over there, then that becomes a business expense. Therefore, the airfare to get there was a business expense. The hotel was a business expense. Just gotta be creative. Okay? All right, back to the conversation. Yes, ma'am.
Why wouldn't we automatically just price the commissions to already include the buyer's agent?
Well, I mean, you want it to be priced in there the same way. Most of our sellers still are, right? Most of our sellers, I mean, like we're not having a ton of these really challenging, but you can go on the MLS and see listings for $0 and $1. I saw one for $100 the other day. Now, there's not a lot of them, but they are out there. And what I'm trying to prepare you for is to have these conversations, right? It's not always, I mean, most of our sellers are really smart people. They understand what's going on and they understand how things work. But there's also a lot of folks who's like, well, I ain't gonna pay, I don't want to pay, kind of thing. And so we just need to be able to explain it, but not sound manipulative and not be manipulative. I'm not trying to manipulate anybody.
Right.
I do think it's important though that I let you know what are the consequences of your actions. Right?
Using that net to seller sheet helps with that conversation.
Man, it's almost like you knew what was next.
Wait. You know I can't see the screen, right? Which shows the next slide.
But yeah, see now's the point when you pull out the net to seller sheet. Now, I am not a to the penny net to seller guy. Meaning, because even if I figure this out to the penny today, what happens tomorrow?
It changes.
It's different, right? So I want to be close, kind of thing. And so all you're going to do, right, is you're just going to go in there and say, you know, is there payoff, payoff, brokerage fees, transaction, all the way through. This is what payoff amounts are. This is what you should be netting out at the end, approximately. You know, take your taxes, calculate it out. It's really not that hard to do this form. Everybody had to do it as well in real estate school. But there, you know, it's a very simple process. It is very important that we do this because at the end of the day, this is what the sellers want to know. This is their big question. How much money do I get when it's all said and done? Like, if I'm going to list a house, that's what I want to know. Yes, ma'am.
So I know you can do the net sheet on FMLS, but are you able to print it out?
Yeah, I mean, we have a net sheet that's part of our GAR forms. You can find about 500 of them. Just go on to Google and look at images, kind of thing. There's a bazillion net sheets out there.
What about second mortgages that they may have? Do you stick that on the sheet too?
Yeah, normally, yeah. I just normally I would put them both under there if they had sex in there. Because that would still be the total mortgage payoff there. So again, like practice it, but it's really not that hard, right? It's not a big deal. But you just have to sit down and your sellers will appreciate you going through the process with them. All right, so close the deal, ask for the listing. This is where I see newer agents sometimes, they go through everything and then they just stare, right? And that awkward silence. So like, are you ready to go? Are you ready to sell your home? You know, are we ready to get the paperwork started? Can we grab a cup of coffee and get this show on the road? You know, like you have to, whatever is your close, go for it now. Now's the time to go ahead and wrap it all up. You know, hey, let's grab a cup of coffee and get to work. You ready? And that's just kind of how I go. So, but ask for the close. Don't just sit there and stare at each other awkwardly. At this point, you want to wrap up your paperwork. Take your utility sheet, your owner information checklist. You want to have them fill out the seller's property disclosure form. Again, we've already talked about that. I want to make sure the listing agreement gets signed, multiple copies for each side. Now you want to go take pre-listing pictures. Okay, this is crucial. These aren't marketing pictures, but a picture's worth 1,000 words is true. Because when you go to start inputting this thing in the MLS, and all of a sudden it says, is the hot water heater gas? You're like, like was there even gas at the house? You don't remember anything, right? I mean, like, was that a heat pump? So I go around and I take pictures of every room. I take the inside, the outside. I take a picture of all your hot water heater. I open the electrical panel, take one in there, HVACs, all that kind of stuff. You take all those pictures because when you actually get back, you're like, FMLS says, what direction is the house pointing? And you're like, okay, look at the picture. Okay, there's the sun. It was about this time. I can figure out, or I can pull it up in a map. But like those pictures save you a lot of time, and they're not for marketing. They're for input. They're so that you can remember, because by this time you're tired now, promise. So you also want to talk about your marketing times. And I'm going to go over some of those with you in just a second. You also want to try and get a copy of security deed if they have it, any notes, and just general questions, that you can go over with your sellers on this. So now's the time to break out your checklists. What checklist makes sense? Now, what checklist do you need? Well, it depends on what you said you were going to do. Whatever is in your listing presentation, that's what you need checklists to cover. So it's not just about go find some checklist. No, make the checklist that matches up to the commitments that you made, right? But there's a bunch of them that you can get out there to go through to make sure that you're doing what you said you were going to do. Now, when it comes time to list your property, do you want to get premier exposure on Zillow? Yes or yes?
Yeah.
63% of our buyers start shopping on Zillow. And so I'm not saying I have a love affection with Zillow, but I do want to take advantage of it when I can. Now, Zillow wants the exact same thing that all your other social media sites want, and that's video. But there's only one way to do video on Zillow, so it shows up higher in their listings, and that's to do Zillow Video. In order to do Zillow Video, you have to download the Zillow Premier Agent app. It's free. You don't have to be a Premier Agent to do it, but it's called the Zillow Premier Agent app. When you download that app, once you've listed the property, go to the property, open up the app, and it will say, do you want to do Zillow Video? You say, well, yes, I do. And you hold the camera up and it says, and you hit a button and you pan across the front yard, and then you hit stop, and the backyard, and the kitchen, the dining room, everywhere. At the end, you save it and it squishes it all together. And so, and then it uploads it into Zillow. And so long as you have a good description of virtual tours or videos in there, it will raise you to the top of the, how you have those premier properties that show up? That's where you'll show up now, because Zillow will reward you for doing Zillow Video. And what's that cost you? $3.99. Exactly. So take advantage of that. Now, when it comes to pricing assistance, 2 weeks and no showings, or 10 showings, no offer. What is it? Price. But we have in-floor heating. It's price, right? It's always, it's price. It's price, it's price, it's price. We have to get that across. So now, if you need pricing assistance, first question you have to ask is, was I honest on the beginning? Or did I try and buy the listing, right? Now, sometimes we just legitimately mess up on things. Sometimes there's weird things that happen, but a lot of times you want, like if you have to do this, it may be because you just bought the listing and you just wanted to get it in there. Because the hard part in getting pricing assistance, if you haven't already had the conversation, is, why didn't you tell me before? Like, how can you ask me to reduce the price when you didn't tell me up front? That's a challenging conversation to have. They call you feet to the carpet that way. And so, you can show your sellers expired properties. Why would I show them expired? Because the market rejected them because they were too high, right? I can show other comparables and say, look, this is a house in your neighborhood. It has granite countertops, fresh paint, carpet, and it's $5,000 less. Like, use the comps to kind of look at that. You know, you can check and see what kind of other foreclosures are coming in there, that kind of stuff. But you know, you want to be able to go through there. If they say, hey, if we reduce the price of this house, are you going to cut your commission? What do you say? Yes, because when I sell the home for less, I get less money. It hurts me. I'm already taking a cut. I don't want to take a cut at all. But if we don't, but if we're going to sell this property, we're going to have to reduce the price. No, I'm still doing the same amount of work. I'm making less money the same as you are though. When do you list? When is the best time to list?
Ooh,
So
it's like Thursday.
it does, but let's walk through here real quick. So I schedule my photographer to have all of our images to us by the first of the week. So regardless of what it is, I'll say, I just need to have my images in normally by Monday. I need the pictures back from the photographer for Monday. So depending on when that is, I'll get that scheduled out. We script our listings. We use ChatGPT. We go through, we do really nice listing descriptions. We make those ahead of time as well. We input the listing in all the MLSs that we have access to, and then we go live in the MLS Wednesday night or Thursday morning. Now, why do we go live in the MLS on Wednesday night or Thursday morning? Because listings that go in on Thursday sell 5 days faster and 6.4% more. Well, it's really not weird when you think about it, because what do agents set up for the weekend? And when do they set showings up on?
Saturday.
Thursday. No, they set it up Thursday and Friday. And so if I list a property on Saturday, when did they already look for properties to look at? They've already made those decisions. They've already got those appointments set up. And so if you wait until the weekend, or if I want to show it on Monday, are more people going to see that property on Monday than they will on Thursday? No, it's just going to be 4 days older, or 3 days older kind of thing. So we list our property Wednesday night or Thursday morning. Now for us personally, now this is a personal thing. We don't allow showings on Friday. So we don't allow showings on Thursday or Friday. And the reason is we hold an open house on Saturday. Now, partly, I hate having an open house and having already sold the house. It just really, really bothers me. But the other thing that it lets me do is I can schedule an open house. So no showings Thursday, no showings Friday, Saturday morning, we get there and we start our open houses normally 10:30, 11 o'clock, and we start showings at 10 a.m. now, and then we run them through. What happens when those folks come and I got an open house going on, Mark, and you come show that house, and there's all these people looking at this house too now. You're the agent. What do you say to your buyers?
Ooh, if you really like this one, you need to put in an offer today.
Right, like we build excitement for it this way, kind of thing.
You see how many other people want it.
Yeah, so I mean, I've got showings going on. There's a balloons out front. I mean, we're there working the crowds, kind of thing. We put out 20 signs when we do an open house to try and draw more traffic in. And at the same time, we let agents schedule showings every 15 minutes. So they're coming in, buyers are coming in, other buyers are coming in, people are looking at the open house. It just creates a lot of excitement for us. So I like to do it that way. If you're gonna do an open house, that's how I recommend you do it. That's how we like to do it anyway. Now, let's talk about evaluating offers. So now we do present all offers, correct? Yes, we are. So before you start showings, discuss with your seller when and how are you going to present the offers to them. So in that same scenario I'm talking about, we don't even review any offers with our seller until Tuesday. Because I want it to season. I need to have enough time. Never fails, I get an agent who sends me over an offer, expires midnight on Saturday, right? Am I still going to present that offer? Yes. When am I presenting it? Tuesday. Will it be expired? Yes. So I guess you didn't want to buy the house. Or maybe we'll come back to you and try and have you rewrite that contract. But will it make me go bother my sellers Saturday and making sure that they look at this offer on Saturday because you put an expiration date today? No.
But new agents, some of them really don't know, because I know I was.
I got told just the other day, look, We gave you a full price offer, and we're first, you have to accept it. You're gonna do nothing. So on a hot property, we allow for 5 to 7 days, and we post a deadline on when that'll be in the private remarks. We don't make decisions for our clients, but we do advise them pros and cons. We always have to have that conversation we had earlier about cash versus conventional versus VA. Know what an escalation clause and an appraisal gap is. We're seeing a lot less of them now, but they're still out there. Once my seller decides, we do our due diligence. We validate that offer. And so we're going to contact the lender. Now, if your lender answers the phone and says, I can't disclose anything, that tells me tons, because we don't go to closing if we like you don't get paid either if we don't go to closing. And if you're not, I'm not looking for their financial information. I need to know, are they into underwriting it? Have you got all the docs in? Are we in good shape? But if I got a lender that won't even give me that, maybe we're going to go ahead and move on to a different offer at that point, right? So pay attention to that. If the contract looks like crap, the whole deal will be like crap. If it's a sloppy paperwork, that says a lot about how the rest of the deal is going to go. So pay attention to how you write offers, and also look at some of the mess that you get sent over to you. When you have multiple offers, create a spreadsheet, you know, that kind of goes through like we've had 20, 30 offers on property. We'll just put it all in a spreadsheet and say, these are all the offers. You can see where you fell into this one, and this is the one that the seller accepted, kind of thing. So what's the best offer? We got 5 offers on a property. Which is best?
Need more information.
Well, but like, we have to understand though that a lot of agents will just be like, hey, I got an offer in for 330. Oh, that's great. Well, what happens when you really look at the offer? Right? So like, you know, each one of these, this is what we do. We put it in, this is our offer price. This is what any closing costs, any due diligence time frame. This is when they want to close, amount of earnest money, financing type. Is there a loan? I mean, is there a contingency on there? Who's the lender? Does lender matter to me?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sure does. Are they using down payment assistance? Is there anything else, other weird things, you know, warranties, that kind of stuff? And then what's my net to seller? Now, when I give that to my seller, now, what's the best offer?
325.
No, because we got to really understand. Seller A has a ton of stuff. They need at least 60 days to close. What's going to be the best offer? Right? Because all of these scenarios are recent scenarios that our sellers have had. And on every one of them, it's not, I'm not everyone, but on some of them, it's not always the highest price. Seller B just got transferred, needs to leave in 2 weeks. He doesn't want to leave his family behind. What's the best offer for them? Well, closing date 21 days. Yeah. Seller C wants the most money possible. Well, that's going to be the highest net to seller for them, right? Seller D, husband passed away. She can't make any repairs.
It's gonna be buyer 2.
How about no days due diligence? Yep. Seller E wants to do temporary occupancy. Like all our sellers have different motivations. And so we see this, and you know, at the broker level, I get this a lot of times. I'll have an agent who says, you know what? I saw where this house sold. They sold this house for $5,000 less than our offer. They didn't present our offer. I want to take them to real estate court, kind of thing. You know, I want to turn them into Greg. Is that really the case?
No.
Because it's not always price. One, I want you to understand that as a buyer's agent, but as a listing agent, it's the same thing, right? And if you'll go and just put it in a really simple spreadsheet like this, it makes it really easy for your sellers to be able to make an informed decision.
Like that too.
So, but I mean, there's nothing magical about this. This is something that we just learn to do over time, right? The other thing is by making sure that our property season at least 5 to 7 days, I got enough time to get multiple offers. If you do this thing where you just send offers over one at a time, and not do this, it makes it much harder for them to make the decisions on there. All right, so your inspections. Now my buyer's agent, all right, I am 12:28, whole hour off. We got a few more to wrap up, but for my folks online, I totally got it if you guys got to dip out, but we are going to keep rolling here for a minute. So inspections, that buyer agent should schedule the inspection quickly. If they don't schedule it quickly, what is that? Red flag. Okay, means something's wrong. Any additional inspections, you want to do radon, you want to do foundation, all that should be with the regular inspection. I'm trying to take care of my sellers. I don't want you to come 4 times for inspections. I want you to come once and get them all done. Disrupt my sellers as little as possible, please. So now my sellers have to allow timely access. It's written into our contracts that way. They need to make sure all of our utilities on at the inspection, especially at the home inspection. I expect that the buyer's agent is there. As a listing agent, I fully expect that you're there, because if you're there, we have a much lower chance of this deal dying. Lenders, as soon as, like all contact information with a lender, you need to reach out and stay in contact with them. Ensure the lender has a copy of the contract, highlight significant dates, share F-264, I think it is, kind of thing over there with them. Some lenders won't speak to you. That's a red flag. I'm just telling you right now. Maybe and I get it. Like they're the buyer's client, that kind of stuff. But still, I hate when they won't speak to us. Most of the time, it's when they're not local lenders, kind of thing. The vast majority of lenders are really, really good. But when you get a crappy one, it's your clients are going to blame you. So you have to be diligent. So sometimes you gotta strap on a saddle and break out the whip and just start banging tail, right? Like you gotta get it done. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. Now, luckily we don't have to do that a lot, but if you don't jump on it and stay ahead of it, it will cost you deals out there. As soon as we have a clear to close, share that out right away. Make sure everybody knows when we have a clear to close. Appraisers, that lender's gonna schedule that appraisal as soon as due diligence is over. If it isn't scheduled right away, red flag. Maybe the buyers don't have money. Maybe something else is going on. Maybe they're thinking about another property, but an appraisal that's dragging out is normally a reason, right? I recommend leaving the property staged through appraisal. Now, all appraisers say they shouldn't, but I just don't have appraisal issues that way. So I always leave it staged in there. I leave comps for my appraisers. Now, I know that back when, after the 2007-8 crash happened, everyone was afraid to talk to appraisers. I'm not trying to manipulate values, but I may have market knowledge that appraiser doesn't have. And so I prepare comps, I put it in a manila folder, I write in a red Sharpie marker for the appraiser, and I leave it sitting on the kitchen island or the kitchen counter somewhere before they come out to do their appraisal. Because most appraisers want to know what I know, right? So like we just had a house in where this property, this neighborhood, one street of the neighborhood back to high power lines. What do you think happens to the properties that back to those high power lines? Because there was a comparable in there that was $44,000 less. Do I want him to use that? No. So I highlighted that and said, don't use this comp, it backs to high power lines. Don't use this property over here, the basement flooded and it has no carpet down there. These are the comparables that I did use, and this is the reason why. Sometimes we get appraisers from all over the state sometimes. And so share your market knowledge with them. We're not being manipulative. We're just sharing if we happen to know this is why we selected these comps. This is why we didn't select these comps. And that way they understand. Now, some appraisers will really appreciate it. Others will check at the trash before they ever leave. I can't control that. I'm still always going to do my due diligence on there. All right. Due diligence. You have until 11:59 on the last day of due diligence. When you submit that, that's day 0. The next day is day 1. All right. So don't wait to the last minute. Yes, the seller is normally in control, but is your goal to get to closing, or is your goal to catch the buyer's agent off guard and to get $1,000 earnest money. Right? I mean, like, especially as a listing agent, sometimes we'll see a buyer's agent sends over a repair addendum at 11 o'clock at night. Last day of due diligence. My seller didn't even see it. We don't even see it till the next day. You gonna sign it? Is your seller gonna sign it?
Yeah.
Maybe, but I mean, like, a lot of agents would say, no, they didn't get it in during due diligence, I'm not gonna sign it. Well, then maybe that buyer walks away. We're ready to go start back all over again. Like, still be reasonable, I guess is what I'm saying in here. Are you trying to keep earnest money or get a deal done? Keep up with all your dates, due diligence, financing, appraisal, that kind of stuff. Please use F264. As a listing agent, this will be your, did I go too fast? There you go. All right. All right. F264 is your friend. It will keep everybody together. How everything works is just, it's helpful whether you're the buyer's agent or the listing agent. You want to coordinate your closings. Choice of closing attorney is negotiated. There are some instances where it isn't. You're going to be dealing in new construction. You're going to use the builder's closing attorney. If you sell a HUD home, you're going to use HUD's closing attorney. But generally speaking, it's going to be, it's normally negotiated. But understand that for me, my general take on it is they need to be a full-time real estate attorney. Where we have problems is when it's a family practice attorney or some other kind of attorney that's where real estate's like a side gig. That's where you end up having problems. They don't know how to take title. They get title the wrong way. They may not even offer title insurance, that kind of stuff. So I do always encourage a full-time real estate closing attorney. Check on any timed items you have coming from the seller, whether it's termite, carpet, house cleaning, those kind of things. Order your home warranty. Be conscious of how that goes. Get a copy of your settlement statement early so that you have a chance to review it and go over it with your client before you get to closing. The settlement statements are very basic, but it's easier to get that ahead of time. And then make sure that they still have to bring ID, that kind of stuff. Y'all with me? Yep. All right, we're gonna wrap with Ken DeLeon. Anybody ever heard of Ken DeLeon? He's the #1 listing agent in the world. Yep. His quote is, I can't invest enough money to market my listings. We may spend $20,000 to market a single property. Now, Ken is not in Newnan, Georgia.
Why is that like in California?
He's in Silicon Valley. Yeah. But, so he went out and looked in his market. He said, well, he has his own staff interior designer that goes out and meets with the clients. He has his own moving company, so they can move furniture in and out in order to make sure it shows the best. He has his own set of contractors that can do repairs and maintenance on the property. He owns his own storage facility, so he can put that furniture away. He offers complimentary pest and termite inspections. He does a home inspection on each property on him. He has a professional photographer that does daytime, nighttime drone photography. He produces a video with a videographer, a narrator. Like high quality videos on every one. He creates a hardbound 16-page book, like a real actual book, listing book on each property for anyone that comes and views. Each property has its own standalone website. He has 2 Mercedes buses that he uses to drive clients around in. He has an airplane and a helicopter that he'll take around people on there. He has a mansion there that he'll put people up while they stay to go in. His open houses and his broker open houses are amazing. Like full bar, live music. He had one where it was set up like the house looked like it was on the African Serengeti kind of thing. They had people walking around with tigers on chains and people drinking champagne. He spends more on advertising in India and China than most people spend inside the United States. He is an attorney. He has his own closing attorney firm. He has his own magazine that he posts all that in. He runs full page ads in all the local newspaper, full page, full color ads. So now, Ken is not, again, not in our area, right? And Ken's price, anybody want to guess what Ken's median sale price is?
16 million.
That's 7 million. That's all.
Cause I'm like, it
All
gotta
right,
be.
but now, I mean, can you imagine how long it takes to sell a $7 million house? Well, guess what his average days on market is for 17 million, for a $7 million house?
7, cause he's
10,
selling
7, 8 months.
overseas, them Chinese.
17 days.
Yeah, 17.
17 days is his average days on market. So now, but hear me out here, right? Ken looked at his marketplace and said, how can I stand out in my marketplace? He went and looked at what can I really do? No, it doesn't, you know, apples to apples, it doesn't match up. But what I want you to, this is not just about reveling in how much money he spends. So like look at this. I don't have a staff interior designer, but I am a home stager, and I can help you stage your home, or I have other companies that can assist us with that. I don't have movers, but I do have the number for 2 men in a truck, and we can get that kind of stuff moved around too. I don't have licensed contractors, but I do have the names and numbers of people I trust that do good work for a fair price. You know, I don't have a personal storage facility, but I know where all the ones are so that we can put that extra furniture away. You know, we're going to walk through and do the property. We can get a lot of pest inspections, especially done. I am going to have a photographer. Depending on the price point, we may have daytime, nighttime drone. I'm not going to have a professional videographer, but look, I'll be taking TikTok videos and getting Facebook videos. I'm still doing video though, right? I'm not gonna, I may not do a 16-page book, but I am gonna do flyers for my properties. I don't, you know, we will have professional standalone websites out there. I don't have Mercedes bus, but I'll haul anybody around my Hummer if y'all want to. Open houses, we're gonna do open houses. We may do broker open houses depending on the situation. Like what I'm saying is that you have the same ability to do this at a different scale, right? So many agents are doing that basic 4, right? One of which is just sitting back and praying. So really it's 3 things that most agents are doing. Is he doing 3 things? No. So what can we do on our budget? Like I'm not gonna go list again, talking about the trailer. I'm not gonna go do a trailer with daytime, nighttime drone photography kind of thing. But that being said, can we not do a lot of these same things he's doing at a different scale, at a different level, and still stand out the same way he stands out there? You can still stand out here, is what I want you to recognize. Like there's a great opportunity to be a great listing agent. So.
Right before showings, I was spraying air freshener. So when they walk in there, it smells so good in here. But that was just me coming in a few minutes early and spraying air freshener.
I don't like that because normally if I smell that, I'm gonna be like, what's wrong? What are they hiding? Yeah.
Well,
it depends.
It depends on
yeah, it depends. Because sometimes you walk in and it's like, ooh, it's so sweet and sticky. Like you're like they're covering something. So, all right. Let's see if I get any questions online.
Get you some chocolate chip. Let's see. Put some chocolate chip cookies in the oven.
All right. Well, first of all, is there a recording of this course? You can find this on realestatebackstory.com on here. We had another question that said, I thought we weren't allowed to share comps with appraisers. We are absolutely allowed to share comparables with our appraisers. We're not allowed to manipulate values, but I'm not trying to manipulate values. All I'm trying to do is say, this is why these are the comparables we used, and these are why these are the comparables that we didn't use, because I may have market knowledge that appraiser doesn't. I'll call you Bill. So, all right, we are going to thank you very much for everybody online. Thank you guys for in here, and hope that you guys have a great day. Bill, I'll call you later.